Okay, everyone, we're about to get started. If we can find our seats, silence our cell phones as I'm doing, close the back doors and side doors, I greatly appreciate it. I am sorry for the late start of the meeting. We had to adjust the link on the website, so we are now all good to go. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 27th day of January in the year 2026. This is a City Council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a 4 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 4:13 p.m. And we have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus. Councilperson Brooks.
Present.
Councilperson Zupa.
Present.
Councilperson Efros.
Present.
Councilperson Little.
Present.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson Singh.
Here.
Councilperson Griffin.
Present. Present.
I can only count you once. Councilperson Lavarro. And Council President Ridley.
Here.
Test.
We have all 9 council members in attendance at 4:13 p.m. On behalf of Council President Ridley and members of the Municipal Council in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of first floor. The annual notice, which is a schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2026 and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. This council meeting was also sunshined late Friday afternoon because of the impending weather that was coming. So we did have a meeting scheduled for Monday, which got rescheduled for today. And that was all done to satisfy the Open Public Meetings Act. The agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, January 23rd, 2026 at 9:05 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers and posted on the city's website so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I'll start by again congratulating our new council members. This is everyone's first council caucus meeting. So I know there will be some questions. Feel free to ask. I am going to ask if Sean would just review really quickly just some high-level parliamentary procedures of how we conduct the caucus meeting, just so everyone is on the same page.
Yep. So council members and members of the public and people who are watching at home, we want to start off the year on the right foot. And when any council member is looking to address a member of the staff, whether it's during the course of the council meeting, that council member should be going through the council president first, and then that person can address the person who's in question. These are basic Robert's Rules of Order. Just want to make sure that we're following that. And just not that the council always has to let the council president where they're actually going, but if the council member leaves the room, so I don't have eyes at the back of my head. Sometimes I miss you and I don't want to call your name if you're not here. So if you can just let the council president or myself know that you're just leaving the room briefly, we would greatly appreciate it. If there's anything else, council president, that I haven't touched on, I'll be more than happy to do so.
And you just need them to give their name before they speak until you get used to the voices.
That's true too. So if I'm asking for a motion, if you wouldn't mind just stating your name after you make the motion until I get used to the names, I greatly appreciate it. We had our first teams meeting and I had to ask you all to identify yourself because we had issues with seeing you guys. So if you could do that, I'll only need like a meeting or two for that, and I'm sure I'll get used to your names. But other than that, I think we're ready to continue the caucus as is.
Sure.
I actually have a question, Council President.
Just make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Oh,
There you go.
this is Councilperson Little, Council President Ridley. How would you like us to, if we would like to ask a question, how would you like us to ask, to like get in line to ask our question?
Yep, just, you just jump in. Sometimes it gets a little chaotic, but we just,
But
we give everybody courtesy. So if somebody's speaking, wait for them to finish speaking. I usually let the presenters present, and then once they're done, the council is free to ask them any questions. I'll just call for questions, and we just be respectful of each other.
Okay, so we just wait for you to say, okay,
Yeah, let the presenter get through their presentation of their resolution or ordinance, and then we'll take questions at the end.
okay, so once you open it to questions, we can just,
Yep.
okay, cool, thanks.
Any other questions from any council members? Okay, Council President, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, well, let's begin, and I am going to ask if Director Pierce would start us off. The council did request for a brief overview of snow operations. As we all know, we've been in the middle of a storm, and Director Pierce is here to present on that. And Director, after you present on the storm and take any questions, I'll ask that you go into any resolutions that you have.
Thank you, Council President, and I would like to thank each and every members of the council for allowing me to be here this evening. This weekend, Jersey City experienced a significant snowfall already. Governor Mickey Sherrill declared a state of emergency on January 25th, stating this was not an average winter storm, but a storm the likes of which we haven't seen in a decade. Snow began falling approximately 4:30 a.m. on Sunday at a rate of 1 inch per hour. As the storm intensified through the early evenings between 3 and 5 p.m., snowfalls increased to 2 inches per hour. Due to the intensity combined with extremely low temperatures, we needed to use significantly more rock salt than we did under normal circumstances. I want to briefly address the salt supply situation. New Jersey is currently facing a statewide shortage of rock salt. One of our primary vendors, Molten Salt, failed to deliver a purchase to salt to us on time. We made large purchases on December 29th, January 19th, January 21st, totaling 4,900 tons, but he only received 650 tons before this event. As the storm intensified under the leader of the mayor's office, we worked with neighboring municipalities, state and county elected officials, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to secure additional supplies. This allowed us to continue salting operations across the city into Sunday night. I wish to acknowledge that there were parts of the city that did not receive the comprehensive street clearing because of that our residents expect. As the mayor noted, because of what we learned during this storm, we are currently working with the mayor and senior members of his team to identify gaps in coverage, both technological and in our workforce, to ensure that for the potential event this weekend and for any future storm, every neighborhood receives comprehensive service. We know that there's room for learning and constant improvement. With large storms, we need to better deploy personnel plans and improve ways to track as it happens across the city while integrating live reports from field and residents. I want to thank the council for being eyes and ears on the streets throughout this event, relaying back to us in real time where more work was needed. I also want to thank the men and women of the Department of Public Works who put an incredible amount of force into this work in the face of rapidly dropping temperatures and increased snowfall. Many of whom worked extraordinary long shifts and saw little of their loved ones this weekend and Monday. They are truly heroes and deserve the leadership and structure that will help them shine in their day-to-day work. Finally, I appreciate the patience of the residents of Jersey City throughout this storm. During large-scale events like this, it takes the entire city working together to recover. Our primary focus is ensuring that major thoroughfares remain so clear so vehicles can respond safely and get help to the residents who need it. One small way you can help our crews is please avoid shoveling snow back into the streets. I know the snowbanks are high right now, but every time snow is shoveled into the street, cars turn it into slush, and with these low temperatures, that slush freezes. Please help our men and women out by keeping the snow off to the streets. Thank you very much, and I'm available for questions.
Yeah, okay. Greg, well, I mean, overall, thank you. You guys did a fairly decent job. I remember working the snow detail. It's very complicated. And I know many residents, they don't really understand the nuances of what's going on. But I guess my bigger issue is really with landlords more so than the city. But is there any reason we can have snow removal versus snow plowing? Because I get it, we don't want people to throw snow in the street. But we also almost don't have nowhere to put the snow. Like, how do we combat that challenge right there?
Councilman, it's actually part of our snow operations plan when removal kicks in. Normally, it's anything between, say, 15 and 18 inches of snow or above. I actually have a resolution before you tonight for review for hiring the company that assists us and do major removal operations. It's quite a complicated mission, labor intensive, and it's limited primarily to the commercial areas, major transportation zones and things like that. We have started working with our partners in the county as today, taking up different areas throughout the city. We started, I believe, in the Heights. We were downtown. We're out in, I think, Bergen, I'm sorry, MLK and Boswick. And there's one other location that we are physically removing snow from crosswalks and things like that. But as I say, for a large citywide effort, it takes a tremendous amount of equipment, a lot of manpower, and it's expensive.
Oh, so it's a certain threshold that we call for the actual removal, and that's 15 inches.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Director, this is Councilperson Jake Efrosin D. I have a few questions. First, I do want to say, thank you for being very communicative and responsive to my personal texts and calls throughout the past days, and to, all the hardworking staff, employees of DPW. Appreciate the work there. Just a few questions I do want to, rattle off. One, will there be accountability for Morton for failing to deliver the salt on time? And what steps do we as a city need to take to make sure that accountability can be in place? Is that at the state level? And then, the other side of it is just the Heights and Slopes felt very neglected. Residents are extremely frustrated by the result of the plowing efforts. And, a couple of questions I have there. It seemed as though there were moments when plows would go, but the plow is not even low enough to actually pick up all of the slush and snow on the ground. And so the plow would go, but it would leave a good trail of slush and snow on the ground anyway. Residents saw salt trucks followed immediately by plow trucks, seeming to, negate the entire purpose of the salt truck. And in addition, there were intersections when the plows were turning, where in those intersections, in the roadways where vehicles would need to be moving, slush and snow piled up. So I'm just curious about those aspects, the plowing height, the salting immediately followed by plowing, and those intersections are just some of the questions on the
Certainly, Councilman. Well, the salting and plowing trucks are one entity. The salt spreaders are on the back of the plow trucks. Occasionally, you will see a truck without a plow with just a salter, but that's based on information we're receiving that it may need additional salting. I will tell you this. In my experience, I've been the director down at Public, over between my 30 years on the police department, 15 years in OEM, and the last 6, including Public Works. This is one of the most challenging storms I've ever seen. And I go back 2016 when we had numerous snowstorm amount of 22, 25 inches of snow. One of the big issues with this is that intense freeze, which for all practical purposes is that it's like trying to go through concrete when you're doing the breakup. The Heights is a particular area of concern. Obviously, our main areas are covering, when we do the initials, and this is a good explanation, I guess, to offer to our residents too, is that our primary areas of concern, obviously, police stations, fire stations, and hospitals. We want to make sure we get the main areas open where those entities are contained, so we're able to respond in a fashionable manner. We have in the Heights, once again, we also have concerns over the slope area. And 90% of the 95% or more of the operations associated with the slope are through what we call our load-off trucks. That's the big trucks with the heavy-duty plows and the heavy-duty salters. So there may be occasion where you'll see a salter that shows up after a plow comes through, but 95% are one entity. They're one truck. We had an issue today, as you had brought to our attention earlier, on New York Avenue, and we sent equipment up there only to find out that on the Hoboken side, a daycare center had plowed their parking lot into the roadway, preventing full occupancy of the roadway. So we work with Hoboken to get that cleared. So that roadway is now fully open.
And then just on, thank you. And then just on the accountability for Morton Salt, maybe that's another member.
Certainly. My deputy, Marty Valenti, is responsible for the ordering of the salt. What we're doing now, he sent out additional emails today, but what we will be doing is putting together a report for the Corporation Council's review. At this point, they still owe us salt. It's been very non-responsive. I was on a couple of updates with the state police, and this is something that's occurring not only in New Jersey, but pretty much countrywide. As of Sunday afternoon, the county executive was in my office, and he actually reached out to the governor. And the response was we couldn't get there was confusion as far as whether or not the port would open, but actually, obviously, that's under her control. And if opening the port wasn't the issue, the companies being there to actually distribute the salt was. So in our case, what we do, we reached out to a secondary sites, Atlantic Salt, and they were able to supply us for emergencies. But we will diligently follow up to our corporate counsel to make sure that we get what's owed to us. And if there's any funds that they are demanding, if we don't get the salt, they're not getting paid.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you for everyone working. It's DPW workers. Just a quick question on the upcoming weekend. We might have the similar situation or maybe lesser than that. Are we prepared for that?
Yes, and one thing I've learned is that we have numerous weather services that we work with. One of our largest is WeatherWorks. They do long distance forecasting, plus they give us correct snow totals and things like that. Then we also deal with a company called Harrison Weather, which is local. And he tailors his forecasts more to our needs. So right now, there's a storm in queue, has not really come to be fully formed. So depending on what I've learned over these many years is that the track of the storm is key. So if it goes 10 or 15 miles in either direction, we either get nothing or we get hit. So right now, we're closely monitoring it. You know, we're making an adjusting plan should we get additional snow. We went through this back in 2016, where literally every weekend we were having some type of snow. But I just want to ensure too, I signed all of you up for the daily weather reports. I hope you're getting my use your city email address. WeatherWorks is probably one of the best ones out there. And then we can do one-on-one consultation with them, which we did with this storm. And I mean, everything, all the indicators were is that the only thing they were off on was the timing. But yes, we are preparing for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Michael Griffin here.
Good evening, Councilman.
First, I want to thank you, OEM and DPW, for the hard work that you guys put in over the last few days. I've been getting calls regarding crosswalks and bike lanes. Do we anticipate, do we have a timeline on when we can see those cleared?
As I mentioned earlier, we started working today with partners from the county to clear crosswalks. In my discussion with the mayor and his representatives this morning, one concern I had was to make sure that we can get the schools open. And a lot of that has to do with the accessibility of being able to access to school. In the past, contractors from the Board of Ed used to handle a lot of that issue, that when they were clearing their sidewalks, they would also clear a crosswalk. But this storm, for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And there's also an additional issue with the bus stops. There again, years back, New Jersey Transit used to assist in clearing those stops, but I haven't seen any of that occurring here. So what we're doing, we started in downtown and the Heights today. We have a crew down by NJCU University that'll accommodate the college and also the school across the street. And we had a crew up at, I think it was Boswick and MLK. So as we move forward, we're going to schedule, actually I have a meeting down at Public Works at 6 o'clock to move that schedule through. So to answer your question, we are doing that.
Good evening, Director.
Good evening, sir.
Tom Zupa. Thank you and DPW and OEM and your staff for all your work. Thank you for your briefing on Saturday. I echo my colleagues' thank yous. Similar to what Councilman Griffin indicated was, I don't want to differentiate my questions between this storm and then preparing for the next one. So in terms of this storm, 139 continues year after year to be something that is a complaint. It usually only gets resolution when the ice melts or the snow melts.
Right.
What I've heard as a being in the community and now sitting on the council as well, it's the state's problem, but it's our residents who suffer. So do you have a plan to have the city staff clear 139 and the
Yearly.
walkways?
Yearly, Councilman, it's a major problem. We have roadways that are obviously under the state jurisdiction. However, many times we have to take up the initiative to clear the roadways. This occurs occasionally on the Tonley Circle, on the Charlotte Circle, on Route 139, obviously. John Lynch, my Chief of Administrative Services, is diligent with contact to the New Jersey DOT. We had a very good relationship with the previous commissioner. However, that commissioner has changed, but he is still following up. Moving forward, we are going to get that. I saw it on the way down here tonight, and it has to be done. I agree.
Director, if I may, I'll add to that, Councilman. The mayor office, big thanks to him, actually was proactive in contacting them beforehand and including our assembly delegation and our Senate delegation to try to get them to be more proactive with it. Unfortunately, you see the results of that, but we are trying to put pressure administratively on our, elected officials at that level to try to help us get the assistance with those roads as necessary.
And Director, thank you, Peter. And Director, there's an opportunity to do the work ourselves and build the state. That's something I would look into. A great deal of Ward C's residents rely on transportation and they have to be able to get to it. And so a lot of concerns I heard yesterday and today had to do with 139 and of course the crosswalks and intersections that you already referenced. Having been out, as a lot of my colleagues were yesterday with the team, we know the difficulties. And I believe you said we were the eyes and ears, which is a good way to do it, but we also rely on a lot of information we get back from your staff. And one in particular, I heard that the east and west streets in the hilltop were plowed, and they were not. So it's very important that information that we get is accurate because I'm relaying that to our constituents. And I would hope you'll look into whether it was a mistake or miscommunication that information was given to you and then relayed to the council, to me specifically, that certain streets were plowed when they were not.
And I did follow up on that with my folks, and in the years past, that's always been an issue, largely based on the vehicles that are parked the way they park. The smallest plow we have is on what they call a P truck, which is like a pickup truck. Unfortunately, the one operator is one of our more experienced operators. On several occasions, tried to get down there, but was prohibited from doing so by parking. It single-handedly. The parking of vehicles, I mean, I know parking's premium to begin with, but a vehicle that's parked on in an intersection, a vehicle that's parked on a curve, that significantly impacts our ability to plow. And, some of the staff last night, we went out with the plow folks, and you can see how hard it is. I mean, in a perfect condition, we have the speed bumps, which is another issue. So there's a lot of nuances that go in. And the sad part about it is that a lot of the experienced plow people have since moved on and retired. And, the newer people, we're bringing them on, even though we give them as much initial training, the only real first-hand training you're getting is when you're out there plowing in a snowstorm. I will ensure, I usually vet the information. I'm a firm believer that, the old saying, you can't unring the bell. Once the information is out there, if it's inaccurate, it's a hard time getting it back. But I will guarantee you, you have a question, you have my cell phone, it's on 24/7. Text me with the information and a question, I'll be happy to respond to you.
Thank you. Just the last 2 points briefly are about the future preparations for storms. Can we do something to alert the community that they are responsible if you own a corner lot to clear through the intersection to the crosswalk?
Yeah.
A lot of people are unaware of that. And then, Director, my second and last question is the resolution you have for snow removal. Can you just differentiate the scope of work between what DPW is doing and what this company does?
Certainly. Basically, what the snow removal, that's where the company, they have assets, including tandem trucks, roll-off trucks that far exceeds the capacity that we have. The operation is very intensive. Usually what we would do, we would start, and these are, Councilman, limited to the major commercial bus zones in the city. It's usually a 4-night operation. What we would do is collectively with police, fire, they also join in to help us assist with traffic diversion. We have to move cars, which there again, most people are cooperative. The ones that aren't, it requires the hiring of tow trucks. So what we try and do is relocate the cars to an area or even get them to a point where they operate pretty quickly. So we pull a car, plow it, put the car back. That usually kicks in 15, 18 inches of above. The last time we did it was, I believe, back in 2016. As you've probably seen from the resolution, it's very costly. I believe this particular resolution is for $2.4 million, and that's a 4-day operation.
May I just ask a quick follow-up on something that Councilman Zupa brought up? This is Councilman Efros. Yeah, if we can, I mean, is there any way that we can pair the next alternate side parking street sweeping day with a plow to make sure, like, is that in the works? Because that seems like one of the big obstacles. Cars can get out of their side of the street. We can just go through that side of the street with a plow. Is that in the works or something?
We explored that years back, Councilman, but it didn't seem to make a big difference. I'll be very honest with you. One of the problems that we have, and this time we were able to get some assistance with it, was the availability of off-site parking. You know, we've made a lot of notifications. We've done that through the city emergency alert system for all of our residents. We've done it through the media folks. We've done it through on our webpage. I was out the other night and we were down by the Hudsonburg light rail, and that was the one down by Liberty Science. And I want to say about 10:30 that night, there was maybe 30 cars down there. So for whatever reason, people don't want to take advantage of that. And we've had issues in the past where we'll have restrictions from the different entities that assist with that. And they put restrictions, you can only have the car between this time and that time. So it's a challenge, I can tell you that.
Director, with that, I think that I don't know how we could change the communication with the community, because there were people who did move the cars. Of course, we're always going to have people who don't. But I believe that because we asked for the cars to move and we don't usually do that, the impression was that DPW was going to shovel curb to curb, and that wasn't done. So last night at 5 o'clock, when everyone had to get out the lots, the council was hit with a bunch of calls because they're like, where do we go? And as I'm riding through, particularly in the Bergen Lafayette area where, I had to fight with NJ Transit to let us in the lot, there were a lot of parks on the street, but they were all filled with snow. So there was nowhere for anyone to leave that lot and then put their cars. So if we could either not have people move, or if we're going to have people move, definitely remove the snow, that would be helpful.
And we have shortly, in the near future, we'll be doing an after-action plan that's going to completely cover this entire event. We will definitely make sure that's covered. One of the other challenges we have, obviously, is the bike lanes. So years ago, when the JCIA, prior to bike lanes, they were trained to do curb to curb, but that's challenging now. And obviously, the way the plows plow, the blade is normally tilted to your right. And when you're going down a roadway, if there's a bike lane, the snow ultimately winds up in the bike lane. So it takes specialized, there again, in this type of a storm, based on the ice, it's like chopping through concrete.
So I had a question about how, how the routes are determined. So, I mean, I guess, first of all, I also, want to echo others' concerns about the crosswalks and the bike lanes. That's something I've been hearing a lot about. But what I've also been seeing is streets, in downtown, we saw this a lot on the east to west streets. They may have been plowed once or twice earlier in the storm, but then there was, a several-inch layer of slush afterwards because the snow kept falling, right? And it seems like some streets were plowed, multiple times before other streets got plowed a second time. And that may not be true, but this is this is the perception and what people have been telling me, and what I have seen as well, having gone out. Some streets are substantially clearer than others, and I'm wondering if there's a specific route that the trucks follow, or if they're kind of just like going where they get complaints, or, I mean, ideally, I would think in the future, maybe we could have some sort of like automatic tracking system, if we don't already have something like that, to determine what streets have not gotten a second pass yet, because I observed a great deal of discrepancy between, the snow levels on different streets. And, just seeing in historic downtown, it looked like the north-south streets were more clear than the east-west streets, but, I know that varied across the city. And so, yeah, I just wanted to hear more about how the routes are determined and how we make sure that, streets are not skipped.
All right, each one of the vehicles are equipped with GPS.
Okay.
That's monitored real time at our snow operations room. So one of the questions that always comes up, we start, just to give you a little, as I said earlier, our primary roads are associated with police stations, fire stations, hospitals, and things like that. And then, and they're also our primary routes, which are routes of transportation, bus and things like that. One of the biggest issues, and the reason you see that, I've seen it myself, is that many times you'll see a plow going down a street for the second time, simply because when they complete the route, we'll get a report that there's snow covered again, and that's largely based on people throwing snow into the roadway. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it in my day where, you stop and unfortunately, common sense isn't so common many times. We had a person the other night that was actually shoveling a car out, and they were burying a fire hydrant. And they take offense when you stop, but it is what it is. I mean, we're trying to make a pile, give us the leeway to get down that roadway so we can clear it. We've been following up. I have some equipment in my office too. So if I've been getting complaints, like Councilman Hefros had called us on New York Avenue, I had one of my people free and we sent them right there. So the only streets that really get priority attention, that's day one of the plan. I mean, the whole city gets plowed, but priority is main, secondary, and tertiary.
Okay, and thank you for your answer, and thank you to you and your workers as well for working some long days.
Ward B, Councilman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Joel Brooks, Ward B. Yes, thank you, Director, and thank you to all the staff. Made the rounds with Commissioner O'Day to OEM. Also, thank you to our Hudson County park staff that were out there clearing the parks as well. Question, if a property has not taken care of their sidewalk, they've received a summons, and they still remain unrepentantly unplowed, what would be the recourse there?
Well, basically, that's done through the mayor's task force. The sanitation inspectors are assigned. So if an issue comes in, it's reported to us, they assign an inspector. Then what has happened is what they call an NOV, notice of violation, is issued to the property owner. We will do the cleanup, and this is, Councilman, this is if it's an abandoned property, if it's an abandoned house that has to be boarded up. Unfortunately, based on current circumstances, it's a low priority. I mean, eventually we will get to them, but we work pretty much hand in hand with Director Barrow and his folks to ensure that the residents are notified that they have to do the cleanup. It's posted on our city web pages. Many of the issues we have with those types of properties are out-of-town landlords. I know for the last couple of days, the mayor's resident response folks have been up, and they also have inspectors embedded. And in my operation up at OEM in the operations center, and I've been getting a lot of the calls back. And when the first thing I questioned, I says, "Were you called by resident response or an inspector?" And 95% of them, yes, related to heat complaints, and we have a good portion of the property complaints too. So they are doing their due diligence in making sure that these areas are clear. But the process is the process, and it's going to be slow. What that will come into play once we get crosswalks and things like that cleared up.
Thank you. And then second question, and I don't know, maybe this is a question for our BA, but years ago, we had the senior shoveling program, and a lot of our residents thought that we still did. We did our best to get out there and help them, and special shout out to Kismet of Kings, had a couple young men out there with me yesterday, working hard. But there's a lot of need. I just want to, this is, I think, probably across the city for seniors to, who may be of limited means and limited physical capacity to clear or just to get out of their house. So I imagine that might be a financial, obviously an obligation on the city that we may need to introduce an ordinance, but I don't know if, Peter, you could speak to the history there.
There's two parts to it, Councilman. There is a financial component. This previous senior shovels was both volunteer and some paid individuals, plus paid equipment and things of that nature. So there's a marginal financial component to it, but additionally, there's also a liability component. What we found last time was, one, making sure people were paid correctly, and it involved the city in a lot of issues of that. Additionally, there was a lot of liability where if a person, hurt themselves while working, was there, claims against the city, were there liability on the city's behalf? Also, if things were shoveled improperly, did the city now have an obligation to, anyone injured on that property because of how it was improperly shoveled and that they were employed through the city? So there's a lot of nuances there that ultimately the program became very difficult for the city to administer and keep the cost, beneficial to the residents. It's something we can look into. Maybe there's a volunteer type program that might eliminate some of those liabilities, but I'm happy to explore that, Councilman.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to look more into that. I don't know if anybody else on the council would like to help. Yeah.
Thanks,
Same here.
Carol. Peter, I think definitely we can explore this more, like high schools. We can reach out to the volunteer programming where we can issue some credit. And then, of course, liability and all that. Most of the kids here, especially I'm talking about, if they volunteer, there can be some perks. And if we can figure this out, I would love to work with you on this project.
Absolutely, be happy to.
Thanks, Peter. And Director, thank you again. So I feel the issue about the parking, people were parking on the stop sign, and it has been happening regularly all over Jersey City. Once we enforce parking rules, regulations, I think this situation will get better soon. So that would be in coming days. I think it's going to work in our favor. And Council President, your question, you were suggesting we have to figure out some ways to inform people. I was thinking something to explore. We should explore it, that we can work for cell phone service providers to send some alert, not emergency alerts like in a situation like snowstorm. It can be even if people do not sign up for it, if they can get alert, and I don't know what is the possibility, I'm just suggesting alerts like parking, trash around storm areas, or if there is any emergency. I think we can explore it more if possible.
Can I jump in now? You were going to respond?
Go ahead, Rolando.
No, okay. Director, pleasure to see you again. And I'll start by saying thank you to all the city workers for the yeoman's work, and the mayor's office and everybody I know working around the clock on that and tirelessly. So thank you all for all your hard work. Couple of questions and then a final comment. So I'll the salt supplies, you talked about it seemed like we fell short on the salt supplies because there was a failure of shipment. But our special council meeting, which we had on the subject, I was under the impression, and coming away from that we had adequate salt supplies. Did we have enough, or did we underestimate? What was the question? What happened there? And then I have two other questions and then a final comment.
All right, pre-storm, Councilman, we had approximately 2,500 tons citywide. We have 3 depots, the biggest one being down at Public Works, that's 1,500 tons. The other 2 which service respectfully the 13th and Monmouth location, that pretty much handles the Heights and downtown. And then the other one we have down at Grand Street at Pacific Avenue, that handles the lowest sections. At the time of the storm, we had 2,500 tons in place, which is probably about three-quarter full. The difference between previous storms and this storm was the intense cold. That necessitated an area that we would normally clear, plow and salt would require a second layer of salt just based on the slushy we would deal with. When they changed, specifically when it changed between 3 and 5 in the afternoon, at some points we were getting between 2 and 2.5 inches of slush per hour. And when it hit the ground temperatures were in the low teens, it was immediately freezing. So under a normal storm, we probably would have been okay. But with this particular instance, we were down at the end of the night to about 750 tons, at which point a decision was made to do one large run of the city and the hilly areas just to ensure that we'd be able to open up for the next morning.
Okay. So it's the conditions itself that necessitate more. The second question is, schools are reopening tomorrow. Who is responsible for like school drop-off zones and things of that nature? Do we do that? The schools? Who's
The cleanup?
clearing those areas
Yeah,
for school
the
drop-off?
school has a responsibility for cleaning the property like any property owner would. In the past, they've always assisted by further opening up the crosswalks. I have not seen that yet. So that's creating additional work for our people, but
I'm not referring to the property, the sidewalks, or so there are designated drop-off zones. There's a
Yeah.
daycare up in the Heights, Councilman Efros, that they brought to my attention on Palisades Avenue. They have over 100 kids going to be coming in tomorrow with the school opening. And that drop-off zone is it's piled with snow.
what I'll
So
do,
there's,
Councilman, I have a 6 o'clock meeting down at Public Works to discuss further
Yeah.
plans. I'll make sure that's part of the.
that's just one example. I'm just guessing that's a daycare. There's daycares throughout the city that are designated by the Jersey City Public Schools. And then obviously the schools themselves have drop-off zones, including charter schools, private schools, and public schools, right? So I'm not sure what kind of coordination we have on that, but to the administration as well.
As I say, we've been dealing, Hudson County has been loaning out a small, it's like a bombardier, they call it, that assists us for those type areas. And we've made some good progress today, and we'll be continuing that as we move forward. I'll mention that at tonight's meeting.
Okay. And then I just wanted to bring, as we were sitting here talking, I got a text that Bartholdi is still not plowed. Going down to Our Lady of Mercy and the daycare down there, Bartholdi all the way down there. So if we could
I'll make sure.
maybe get some plows on that one. Appreciate from Kennedy down to OLM, as she tells me right now. And then when with the new contract with the snow removal, which areas are we looking at getting snow removal? Can you actually, if you could just provide us with a list of those areas, that'd be great to know where.
On the contract side?
That will be designated for snow removal. Like, is it specific areas or is it just,
Well, that's what I'm asking. You're talking full-scale snow removal? Or
Yes.
ones what we're doing like bits and pieces now? Full-scale operation would be primarily limited to the major transportation areas, any of the bus routes, any of the main thoroughfares.
so the emergency snow routes?
Like pretty much all the snow routes, correct? Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing is really just a comment. I'm looking forward to your after action plan. I'm not looking necessarily for a response on it, but I'd love to see how the parking lots worked out for us and would like to know if there was any cost to us. How many of them were filled to capacity? Again, those emergency snow routes. Did we tow cars and how many cars did we tow? And then to piggyback on what the Councilman from Ward E, the prioritization. So of different areas as well as the tracking of what's going on. I know we have GPS, but would be interested to know if we could just tell us in the future whether every street got passed through 3 times or twice or something like that, as opposed to once or not at all. And if we can be able to have that kind of clarity and level of clarity on that as to the numbers, that would be helpful to know in terms of going forward. And I would like to also be involved with the whole senior shovel. Let's bring that back to Jersey City. That's all I have to say.
All right, council.
Ocean.
Everybody has had a turn at a question. If you have any other questions, I would ask, please, send it to Director Kears directly, and he will have an after action report ready at some point for us. But any other questions, please take to him offline. Just one more thing, Director, just to confirm, inspectors are out and actively ticketing in areas where.
Yeah, the
Where people
locations,
have not done
residents'
due
response has been up, Mr. President, when you stopped up yesterday, you saw that they were fully
Right.
operational in there. They are handling the complaints and immediately assigning the complaints to respective inspectors. So
Okay,
there is follow-up there, definitely.
thank you, Director. We'll move on to your resolutions.
Thank you all. I appreciate the time to be here tonight.
Director.
I have three resolutions for your consideration. The first one is resolution number 1013, 26-021. This resolution will authorize an open-end contract to Persistent Construction to provide snow removal citywide for the DPW Division of Sanitation. The city, through open competitive bids, solicited vendors to provide assets related to citywide snow removal operations, which resulted in the receipt of one proposal from Persistent Construction. Based on past occurrences, citywide snow removal consisted of 4 12-hour days totaling 48 hours. Total contact amount would be $43,850 times 48 for a total contract of $2,104,800. Should we have to initiate this type of an operation, the money is available in a DPW sanitation operating account, and the period of time for the contract would be January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
Questions?
So, I mean, I guess one of the council members spoke upon this earlier. What specifically are they going to be doing versus, like, I see the crew out on MLK and Boswick today. So what specific are the individuals in the contract going to be doing versus what we're doing as a municipality already?
They would provide, for instance, and I'll use a generic number, say 40 or 50 of the large payloaders, which is what they use to pick the snow up. And in tandem to that, they would also provide the trucks that's necessary. It's a load and go operation. You load the snow into the truck.
Oh, so they
Truck then goes
remove
down
it.
and dumps the snow at our designated locations.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, next.
The next one is 26025, 1017.
1 second, Director.
I just wanted to ask, I don't know what the going rate for snow removal is, off the top of my head, but, it is I guess it's a little concerning that we only got one proposal. And, I also wanted to ask, if this seems reasonable, like a reasonable number based on other contracts, or if it's worth opening up the RFP again. And also I wanted to ask, you said it's from January 1st to December 31st, but are we getting a prorated amount for January because most of January has already passed, and would it make more sense for it to, begin at a later date than January 1st?
I defer to the BA on it.
Yeah, this is an open-ended contract, meaning we don't pay unless we use it. So they put it in the budget, so the money's there in case we would need to pay it, but they don't charge us, practically until we actually employ the service. And at the end of the year, if we haven't spent it, we can either roll that cost over into the next budget, or we can do an appropriation transfer to move it somewhere else in the city.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
The next item is 1017.
Actually, I had another point of information on that. Is this a one-time use spent?
Yearly contract. We put it out.
But it's the same amount of money that
It's an open-ended, meaning that up to a certain amount of money for the resolution. And then we can, every time we use a service, it'd be, I think it's what, $50,000 an hour, something to that effect. So we can spend $50,000 an hour in the whole operation until we hit the maximum that's allocated. If we need more, we can go about that by 20%. If we need more than that, then we have to go back to council and get an approval for any additional money needed.
understood. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm still struggling with Mike. If we don't use it, it roll over.
Either be offered a rollover to the next year's budget, or we do appropriation transfer where they take the money from one location and say, hey, we went over here, didn't use over there, move the money to where it's needed.
Thank you, Peter.
Greg, I mean, I guess, I guess the BA or someone from the administration, was there some political contribution disclosure form attached to this?
Yeah, I checked into that. It doesn't require one because it's an open bid contract. The law department can give you specific details about it.
Okay.
But I checked with purchasing, there's nothing attached to it because it's an open bid contract, does not require that.
Okay.
Any other questions on 1013?
Okay, the next item, 1017, 26025. This resolution will authorize the public sale of 213 motor vehicles through the publicsurplusauction.com. It's an online auction which have salvage value and are no longer suitable for use.
Questions?
What's the anticipated revenue from that?
It varies, Councilman. They usually do a bulk bid. There again, it's, most of the cars are cars that are coming out of our car impound. There are vehicles we're moving from the Jersey City fleet based on age and use and things like that. But purchasing, I guess, would be the best person that could, give you that number. But it varies from the amount and if there's one bid, two bids.
A lot of these are scrap vehicles too. It's not sold for actual working machines or anything. Also, there's a minimum bid, and then depending how that bid goes, it could be underbid, overbid, but we have a minimum threshold we usually require based on the value of the value of the vehicle at the time of sale, whether it's scrap or whether it's an operating vehicle.
Should we expect a significant purchase of vehicles to be necessary soon, or because it's mostly for scrap, we already have vehicles that these would have been used?
Yeah, these are mostly replaced. Before it even gets to this point, the city generally, the different departments will try to order their vehicles beforehand.
Yeah.
Additionally, the bulk of these are not city vehicles. The bulk of these are impounded vehicles, abandoned vehicles, things of that nature. The city historically has gone to a vendor to deal with a lot of this. We took this in-house for our impound operation last year. Because of that, we have to basically get rid of these as quickly as we get them in, or the pound quickly fills up and we can't continue operations.
Next.
Final is 26026, 10-18. This resolution will ratify an emergency contract award to Atlantic Salt Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of rock salt for citywide snow emergency for the Department of Public Works. The city's contracted vendor, Morton Salt, failed to deliver pre-ordered rock salt as promised, potentially endangering the health, welfare, and safety of citizens and our city employees. DPW secured a vendor, Atlantic Salt, which provided salt deliveries as requested in preparation of the impending snowstorm commencing Sunday, January 25th, 2026. Total amount of this contract is $190,000, which is available in a DPW operating account. What we did was that we engaged with the co-op. It's called the Hudson County Co-op, which is the majority of the cities and counties have been utilizing with Morton Salt. For whatever reason, even the salt that we were able to get from the port, we had to send our own trucks out to get it. So I don't know whether it's a delivery issue with them or what, but Atlantic used to be our main supplier, but Morton Salt come in at a lower price, and by purchasing in bidding laws, we're obligated to take the lower price vendor. And unfortunately, many times in my experience, when you go with the lower price, they normally don't deliver the services as promised.
Questions? All right, thank you, Director.
Thank you very much.
1 second.
How much salt was delivered?
Last delivery, 2,500 tons.
Thank you.
And that 2,500 tons was the $190,000?
It's approximately, I know the difference between Morton and Atlantic is about $15 to $18 more per ton. Thank you.
Thank you. And when each director or department member comes up and speaks, can you please just state your name and your title so that the new council members can get familiar with everyone? Robert Baker.
Good evening, Council President, members of council. I'm Director Baker. I run public safety, IT, and very serious cybersecurity and a citywide radio system. I have one resolution before you today. It's resolution 26-027. and the agenda number is 10.19. It's a resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by AT&T for providing mobile cellular service for the Department of Public Safety. It's in the amount of $30,683. To bring you up to speed, the President Council, this is a part of, we transitioned from AT&T Mobile Wireless to Verizon. That means every cellular phone, every iPad, every tablet, every computer, every public safety vehicle that has a computer or a modem in it. It was a year-long transition, a little over 1,100 mobile devices. To date, by doing this transition, we have reduced the bill $160,000.
So this claim that's been submitted by AT&T, it's for services already rendered, correct?
Yes.
Was there a contract?
Yeah, what we couldn't do, Council Person, is we didn't know what we were we knew it was gonna be so long. The original contract for this was way over $600,000. And we didn't want to go in for that, and then we wanted to sit and wait. So the negotiation was, well, let's see what's going to be finished by the time we completely eliminate AT&T. And that's how we came to this number.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
James Carroll.
Good evening, Council President, fellow council members. Congratulations on your installation. I look forward to working with all of you. Today, I have two resolutions that I'd like to present for your approval. I'm just going to go a little out of order. I'm going to start with the second one first. Item 10.29, which is Resolution 26-037. This is a resolution authorizing the award of a professional service contract to Strulowitz Gargiulo and Twinborough PT Associates to provide PT, physical and occupational therapy for all of our city employees who are injured on the job. The amount of the contract is $275,625 with the term from January of 2026 to January ending in 2027. The details of the agreement on this particular resolution, where there were 4 particular bids that were presented, in this bid had the most cost-effective and professional services based upon a review of the committee that made the presentation.
Any questions?
I mean, does cost effective mean cheapest?
No, we don't necessarily make that based on the cheapest, but we look at his years of experience, the overall comprehensive package that they provide. We use capitated services, so we basically look at, and we can provide also, I have my team, had them just send you over the terms of the contract so you know what the cost of each capitated service. In addition, we've been working with Strulowitz and Gargiulo for several years, and we find their services to be excellent.
One question on, has PT ever been covered in city health insurance? Has it always been outside of city health coverage?
This is just for workers' compensation, Councilman. So anybody that's that's injured on duty, they would go through a separate structure for workers' comp and works comp insurance with the city provider.
Thanks.
No problem. Just now to reverse, and the reason I did it this way, if you go back to the original resolution, it's a claims resolution for services performed by Strulowitz and Gargiulo during the same period, which is item 1020, resolution 26028. We provided a service contract for $125,000, which was expended. At the time, we only had 2 bids, but we were instructed to go out with for further bids. And of course, we still have to continue to provide the services for all of our employees during that time frame. To do a rebid and to get further bids takes a little additional time. In addition, when we ultimately got to the point of recommendation, we were facing election and transition changeover. So this got delayed during the process.
Questions?
Oh, you got a question, Councilman?
All right, I think it's working. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Pardon me if it is a stupid question, but when is the time? Do we open bid for all the local businesses? Or when is the time they can bid for the better pricing? How does it work?
I'm better deferring to our friends in the law department to discuss the bidding process.
Okay.
I don't want to misstep on that one.
I'll give a brief overview for the council. When there's a bid, generally what happens is the bid is for awarding a contract essentially. So once an RFP goes out, members of the public can respond. It's publicly posted on our website. It's also advertised on some partnership websites that have a bigger reach than we would just locally. Anyone that provides that service could, potentially reply to the RFP and get a shot at getting the contract. Once the RFP is received, we have an internal committee that reviews those proposals. They have a fact sheet that they have to respond to. Those things cover like cost, the closeness of the services based on the RFP responses, the historical ability to provide those services, things of that nature. Once those fact sheets are completed, it's done anonymously. They are tallied up and the scores awarded to each of the vendor. And then based on those scores from the collective group, a contract is suggested to be awarded for the vendor with the highest score. Once it happens, it gets brought back to council, presented to council, council makes the ultimate call on it. If they agree with it, it goes to, the contract is approved, the law department goes over it. They may go back and forth about any terms and conditions that might be altered, and then the city would sign that contract. Most of those contracts are everything from a year up to 3 years with options to renew. Those options are if we like their services for 3 years and we decide we want to continue with it, we continue for an additional year or two. Usually when it gets to that point is when we start deciding whether or not we want to do a new RFP and see if there's other vendors out there because we're either unsatisfied with the services or we think we can get a better price or something to that effect.
Thanks, Peter.
So Jimmy, I'm going to, and to the administration, I'm going to sound like a broken record on this stuff. The claims, these claims, this is for services rendered.
That's correct.
Is there a contract? Is there a
No,
resolution
there's not. The
approving?
claims come in and then we take a review of it. And at that point, we'd make our recommendation, but there is no contract.
So why is it that we have, I'm going to be, I raised this when I was on the council 4 years ago, and it was a problem then of like services rendered without the council approving them. And I would gather to guess that it's caused fiscal problems for the city of Jersey City, right? So, these expenditures that are not overseen or accounted for, and the city council is not able to exercise its fiscal oversight in these matters. It should be budgeted in the budget, and then it should be charged against the whatever the budget accounts are, and coming to the city council for approval before it comes to us as a claim. That's my understanding of the process. Right?
I would clarify, there is a contract because
Okay.
if a contract ends, it goes into a month-to-month basis
Yeah.
until a new contract is awarded. So there practically is a contract between us and the vendor. Generally speaking, for whatever terms and
The
conditions.
contract ended.
It ends, but then it goes to a month-to-month basis. We couldn't have a service between the city and the vendor without having some rules or agreements to what we're providing to them. So it still stays effective based on a month-to-month basis while we select a new RFP or go to a new process of selecting the individual. In this particular case, the issue was like, the director described, we're in a transition period. We did not have the same number of council meetings. In addition, we didn't want to take certain actions at council meetings because we had new membership here. So it did cause some delays. Going forward, we'll make those corrections so it doesn't continue.
So do the council then, I mean, does the administration, when you're going through this, a contract expires? And I don't want to belabor the point, but what are the controls, the council controls around this that ensure that the money is budgeted for? Because is this currently budgeted? Because these are 2025 expenditures from the 2025 budget, essentially, right? So we're now picking it up into our 2026 budget?
Not necessarily. So if we have expenses from 2025, if we have surplus funds, we can still make those payments under the 2025 budget. So it wouldn't count towards the 2026 budget. Particularly with this case, even if it's not budgeted, we would still need the service. So money generally is in the budget for these procedures without having an exact dollar amount. Of course, to your point, Councilman, if we could find a service for less money, then potentially we would go over what we could potentially budget for that amount. But there is some money budgeted because no matter what, it's an essential service. We have to have that available for workers' comp. So no matter what, we would have a vendor paying something close to this amount.
So is this money coming from a particular account, or is it surplus money, or to pay for this, or?
I would have to have finance decide exactly where they're getting it from, but my understanding is they would use surplus funds or unexpended funds to potentially cover this so it could get counted towards the 2025 budget, which I believe we have to get done by March. They give us by statute a little swing there. So that would be coming to the council in the next month or so.
Is the accountant in this resolution?
The account that's charged against, I believe, is in the resolution.
And is that account a surplus account, or is it? I'm just trying to figure out whether this is budget or not, right? So are we spending the taxpayers' dollars responsibly? Or is this, again, monies that were not budgeted for in 2025, and so now we're trying to find money for it in 2026 to pay for it?
Well, there was a budget for us in 2025, again, because an RFP is awarded. Potentially, we could have had less money because if we found a better that could provide the services for a cheaper amount, theoretically. We could have got a better price for it, but we did have that money budgeted, I believe, up until the end of the year because the services were needed throughout the end of 2025. It's an essential service that we'd have to have regardless of who the vendor was or what the circumstance for that would be.
If I could jump in on this, Councilperson Brooks. So this was an issue in our first council meeting as well. So, and I don't know, Madam President, if you could answer this, or Sean. So we in kind of Q1 of 2026 are approving bills to be paid from the previous quarter. And so kind of the process is we're approving bills to be paid from a previous budget year because our predecessors are not here. And these are expenses that may not have been invoiced, so to speak, until now. Is that correct?
And Peter, I'll lean on you for
Yeah.
this, but I mean, I guess in some instances, we might have received late invoices, but there might be other circumstances of why we didn't get to certain 2025 invoices in 2025.
Correct. So there's a mix there depending on what specific item or piece of legislation we're talking about. In this case, my assumption is we did receive invoices previously, but it has to go before council to be paid. So once that initial RP period ends and the original contract ends, and you go to that month-to-month or interim kind of section, I would describe it, they do invoice us regularly. We would potentially pay them, but now we have to pay them through resolution because, as Councilman Lavarro indicated, that's the control that the council has. That if we're spending things that were not originally anticipated or not originally approved by council ordinance, we have to get your permission to keep on spending that money. In this case, because there's a transition, the council didn't get approval as timely, which is why you're seeing it now versus why it could have been approved, say, the very end of 2025 or, last council meeting, the meeting there before.
And if I can ask too, just to clarify, our goal then to be able to accurately budget and allocate money toward this, again, essential service should be to get away from this month-to-month contract and actually have a standing contract that we can actually anticipate how much we're going to spend each year on, correct?
Precisely. So when the RP comes back, that gives the new terms for any bidder that would have bid on it. It says how much they would, cost, or how much the services would cost, for their, providing them to the city. And that's what you're really awarding on. And then we also have an encumbered amount for that. So it might be, X amount per hour up to a certain amount of money. And then if we decide to go over that because services are utilized more frequently than anticipated, then it would go back to the council to potentially increase that amount.
And just because I'm still green, I appreciate getting caught up to speed here. Is the director or other staff in each department responsible for actively seeking out RFPs relevant to their department, or is that kind of centralized in another part of the administration?
Generally, it's incumbent upon the department or division that has control of that service. However, our purchasing department does keep like a master list of it and, does a very good job at reminding the department saying, hey, X amount of dollars left over, you got to take action, or X amount of time left over in the contract, you should start taking action, and reminds that individual department to start the process for a new RFP, and they help them. Purchasing works hand in hand with each department to help them with that, but really we rely on the departments themselves because they know the services best. So whether it be healthcare or police or fire or anything else, they should be controlling the actual provisions of that RFP, and then purchasing just helps them get the actual process rolling.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna make one more point about it, and that's not really a question. Just looking at the resolution, there's 6 months of billing from July 1st through to December 31st, right? So that means somebody didn't budget for 6 months of this contract when this contract was initially awarded, or somebody didn't renew it before it needed to be renewed when it expired July 1st, and now we're 7 months from the time that it expired, right? So my point being, and this is, to be clear, it's not the current administration, which just stepped in office January 15th, but the need to be able to be more accountable to this and the taxpayers of Jersey City around this, to ensuring that we're budgeting and that, for my part, when I was in the council, I voted against these things. I'm going to provide some grace around this time around because it's a new administration, and it's not, they're inheriting this. But to be clear that these kind of practices, in my estimation, can't continue. We owe more and better to the people of Jersey City.
And
May I
kind
also
of
recommend, oh, go ahead, sorry.
just want to make one comment on that. The new administration has been very proactive to address these items. We have daily budget meetings where, whether it be a claim, whether it be capital, whether it be any kind of expenditure from the city, we are every single day reviewing those items, especially things that came from the previous administration, the previous year, to determine, is it absolutely necessary to pay it? How can we improve it going forward so it doesn't continue to happen and better those processes so we're not in the same position as the councilman mentioned.
I was just gonna say, may I also recommend monthly billing from our vendors, the way law firms do. That way our department directors can stay on top of their budgets. And if there's an issue, they can alert the administration.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Mike Griffin, my question, I'm going to piggyback off of Councilman Zupa. What are our business to business standards? Are we net 30, net 60, net 90? Like, what do we ask for from these vendors? How to pay our bills?
It depends on the vendors themselves. Different services require different kind of payments. We've gotten better where, especially for the larger payments that have interest requirements, like healthcare, dental, things of that nature, we generally ask for a 60-day grace period to make the payments, mainly because we ran into an issue where a lot of them wanted payment within 7 to 10 days. But because the way council works, if a bill comes in at a certain point in time, we might not have a meeting until 2 weeks from now. So it's unfair for the council or the taxpayers to pay interest on a bill that physically cannot be approved by the council and be paid in a timely manner. So it's very dependent upon the individual contracts, but especially for the larger ones that have high interest, we've moved them, and the law department's done a great job of this, moving them to have a grace period of 30 days to 60 days to make sure we can pay that timely and not incur the interest.
Okay, so follow-up question. My colleague, Tom Zupa, is suggesting that if we can do it every 30 days, is that something that we can do?
We can explore it. Again, it's a lot dependent on the contract, the vendor, and the services they're presenting. It's certainly an option that we can request for them. But again, I'd be hesitant to say yes to everything, depending on the nature of everything, the individual vendors.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Great, thank you, everybody.
Maynard Woodson.
Afternoon, Council President and council members, and congratulations to all the new members. My name is Maynard Woodson. I am the Division Director of the Division of Commerce. Tonight, I had three resolutions that are on the agenda. It's 1014 through 1016. It's my understanding that they're going to be pulled until the next meeting, just so I can spend a little bit of time today just explaining more about the cannabis. All those resolutions were cannabis related. And just to answer any questions. Just to familiarize you with some of the things that were going on for the last 2.5 years is when we opened up the applications for cannabis. At the time of opening the applications, we didn't have a cap on the number of applications. And for that reason, we received quite a few applications, over 80 applications. To date, 54 of those applications were approved by the City Council, We have 26 that opened within the last year and a half, 2 years. Unfortunately, 3 have closed since then. So total, the CCB, which is the Cannabis Control Board, heard 80 applications, and right now we're only sitting with approximately 5 to be heard moving forward. And that includes the 3 that were scheduled for tonight. The 3 that were scheduled for this evening were 2 for 2 retailers and 1 for a delivery service.
Councilperson Brooks Ward B, thank you, Director. So could you recap how many, or so initially when the process opened, there was no cap on licenses,
Correct.
and now there is a cap,
There was a cap added April of last year of 48.
48, and
Anyone who applied before the cap was initiated was allowed to move forward with the application.
okay, and there are 26 licensed dispensaries currently in operation in the city?
Actually, it's down to 23. It was 26 that were open.
Got it.
3 have closed.
So there are potentially 45 spots open under the cap.
25.
Thank you. Sorry, a lot of shoveling yesterday. Electrolytes are low. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you for that, colleagues. So is there a schedule for the cannabis board?
Yes.
Yet?
Unfortunately, we had to cancel yesterday's meeting.
Okay. All right. So that board
We meet once per month,
once per month.
normally on the 3rd Monday of the month.
And historically, was there an issue with quorum, but now we have enough board members? That's been resolved?
We have quite a few months where we did not have a quorum.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Director, thank you. I thought our cannabis board should have been more discerning, not because of the product being sold, but based on the locations and the competition that each was offering. 2 where my community offices are located, both are struggling, and I know some closed on Tunneling Avenue. My question is for the law department. Once the cannabis board moves on an application, what are the council's, what's this council's opportunity to reject without the applicant taking legal action against this?
Sure. Brittany Murray. So the council can take into consideration whatever they wish when they're voting on the resolution of local support. Obviously, it goes to the Cannabis Control Board to start. If there is any reason that is not arbitrary, capricious, that the council has for voting against it, they're able to do that. We can't guarantee that somebody might not sue us over that, but the council can take into consideration what they wish. So there's no, if it gets through the Cannabis Control Board and it ticks all the boxes, that doesn't mean that you have to vote it up. You could have your own reasons for voting it down.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. This is Councilwoman Little from Board E. It sounds like, my question is specifically with the Warrior Weed LLC application. I have received an email stating basically that the new limits are also, so 48 citywide, but it also caps 8 per ward. And this is saying that there are already 8 approved for Ward E. Can you speak to that? And is it something like maybe one of the ones that closed was in Ward E, and that's why this is moving forward? Because otherwise, I'm not understanding why it's moving forward if we're already at the cap for the ward.
If the application was received before we instituted the cap, they were allowed to continue because they had already started the process. The expense of having leases for properties that more than likely had started the process of going through planning. So that decision was made, law department, that anyone who had started the application process before the cap was put in place, that they would allow to continue. That's why in a few of the wards, we're over the 8.
So just to clarify, originally when there was no cap, we received, I believe it's 67, I think was the total. it was about 67 applications. And at that point in time, we decided that those would have to be grandfathered in. So they're able to exceed both the 48 cap as well as the 8 per ward cap. So say that these are applications that were received before we made the changes. If Ward E goes up to 12 based on applicants that were before the changes, once we get through everybody that applied before the new portion of the ordinance went into effect, the next Ward E applicant would have to wait until it drops below 48 and 8 per ward. So technically, we could get up to 67. As Director Woodson is telling us, a few have already closed. I don't think we get to that point, but that's how it would operate. So technically, we could have 60, and they would be above both caps, and then the next person waiting in line would have to wait till we get to 47 or 7 in the ward.
Yes, I mean, that's the issue I had with the cannabis in nutshell is that, you move the goalpost during the course of the game, and then essentially you really can't penalize the people who apply under a certain set of rules because we decided to come up with the cap. So that's the problem in a nutshell, but I guess really not a good thing because people are going out of business, but nonetheless, it's an opportunity for us to really try to home in on the 8 per ward and then the 45 throughout the city. Because, I mean, at this rate, there's no way these businesses are going to be able to sustain it. So many of them opening.
Okay. Councilperson Efros from Ward D. I just want to, maybe this is a conversation we can have offline, Director, but yeah, 2 cannabis shops in Ward D are closing or have already closed. And my understanding is that there have been a lot of issues with our city following through on the kinds of signing off between the city and the state that needs to happen for these businesses to stay open. So I'm just curious, I have a few questions, and again, maybe this is another time, but the CCB cooperating with the Economic Development Corporation and the city, because there's a lot of different entities that these shops have to, sounds like, check all their boxes with. And so it seems, to be a shame that who have gone through a lot of the processes already in Ward D are now closing. And I see another one in Ward D is opening up. So I'm just wondering, besides this first step of the kind of providing that initial local support to get them opened up, are we doing our due diligence and following through with all of the other paperwork that we need to get done to make sure that they can actually continue to operate?
I feel as far as the Cannabis Control Board, we've been very efficient in as far as, even keeping multiple applications on the agenda to process them as quickly as possible. I mean, when they're dealing with other funding, I think there may have been some delays there, and possibly it's just some delays on the state's level because we're not familiar with exactly what happens when it hits the state's level. But they have to go through they have to go through a whole process and then start their build out. And we're not involved in the build out where the state does their inspections before they're allowed to open. And we've seen that process after we've given them full council approval take at least a year. We really don't have any control over. I'd be more than happy to speak with you off.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like that.
What is the tax that the city gets from cannabis sales?
2%.
2%. Do we have numbers on?
We've collected since we started collecting taxes in 2024 through 2025. We've collected $982,000.
Since when?
2024 and 2025.
To 2 years, 984,000.
Why is that? There are a couple of blogs, there are 2 and 3 dispensaries. Why do we maintain a distance between 2 cannabis shops, or we don't follow any rule like that?
Originally, we did. We had the 600-foot rule. There were some where we were dealing with some legal issues, and we can speak about it, but the time of application, if 2 applications were put in at the same time, we allowed both applications to proceed through the process, and that wound up with some of them being within 600 feet of each other. So we did change that rule. Now it's not an absolute prohibition, but the applicant is required to provide any cannabis shops that are within the area for the CCB to take into consideration, as well as for the council to take into consideration. So we did have several lawsuits pop up initially when the cannabis shops were opening up near each other, and it was a legal issue that we worked out and decided to get rid of it so that the council and the CCB can look at it more holistically and decide whether or not something should be close or not to another cannabis shop. We still have, I believe, the 200-foot prohibition from a school.
Yeah, thank you. And Councilman Gilmore, I 100% agree that we need to, again, talk like all council members for new laws. And are we really looking forward to too many? As we have a lot of young families. Thank you, Director.
I had a couple other questions as well. Sorry. This is Councilwoman Little in Ward E. So I have the most information on the Warrior Weed LLC because of the constituent petition that was submitted. Can you speak on where the other two are located and if those wards already have 8 or more cannabis?
I don't know that information right off the top of my head because we have so many applications, but I can
Okay.
definitely get that information.
And my other question was, and I'm not familiar yet with the different classes of licenses. The title of all of these in the agenda is Class 5. But
There's one error. One's actually a Class 6.
yeah, I saw that in the resolution, and that this is Beverly Inc. is actually Class 6. And can you speak to the difference between Class 5 and Class 6? And
The Class 6 is actually just a delivery service.
oh, I see.
They don't even store any of the product in their stores. It's similar to like an Uber Eats, a pickup and drop off service.
Uber Eats or cannabis.
Director Woodson, can you send the council an email and just with the breakdown of the different classes so they can understand what the different classes are? And also, if you could give us a list of all the existing marijuana shops that are currently operating. If you have it by ward, that's great. But if not, the name of the shop and the address.
I have it by ward. Yes.
Okay, great.
Sure.
All right, thanks so much.
Any other questions for Director Woodson? And we are withdrawing these 3 items tonight, correct, Peter?
These 3 items are being withdrawn?
Yeah, at Wednesday's meeting, we will withdraw all the items to get the council more time to understand how the cannabis stuff works and, fully vet out the procedures there.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Joan Eckelson. Joan, you must have missed me. You told me you weren't going to make it tonight.
I know, I had to see you, Denise. My name's Joan Eccleston. I'm Director of the Division of Senior Affairs. You'll happy to know that I have a very simple resolution. It is 10-9, Resolution 26017, a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to accept a gift for the Department of Health and Human Services, Divisions of Senior Affairs. You all remember Michael Yoon? His wife wanted to donate $350 worth of pastries to the senior center for a party. So we're just doing the legal thing and declaring that we received the gift.
Okay.
Okay?
Amazing. Thank you.
Yes.
From Delta J. Leche.
Only 300.
What type of pastries were they?
Are they induced or?
And did you bring some with you?
They're for the seniors and not for the council. Sorry.
You can counsel as seniors too.
Okay. And I invite all of you to come to see the 2 senior centers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. Okay. Arthur Cohen.
Who said we can't laugh and learn at the same time, right?
Good evening and congratulations to the Council President and City Council. My name is Ofer Cohen. I'm the Director of the Division of Food and Nutrition at HHS and one of 2 staff registered dietitians. We have one item for your consideration this evening, Resolution 26016, item number 10.8. This is a grant award from Hudson County for our peer grouping program in the amount of $40,000. For those of you familiar with Meals on Wheels, this is a senior nutrition grant award we received from Hudson County for specifically grant guidelines, seniors that are 60 and over. This opens the door for individuals that are homebound and under the age of 60.
Questions?
I have a question. $40,000, that doesn't sound like enough money. Are there any other grants you're seeking?
I mean, this is always at the top of the line as far as items that we need, because obviously we get a much larger award for the seniors. We get an additional award. I think this past year was $10,000. Prior it was 15, but yes, anything that comes along, this is at the top of the priority list because obviously it's a technicality. These people need the service, but they're under 60. One positive is that if they're close to 60, then we can transition them over to traditional senior Meals on Wheels.
And who's the food provider?
Whitson's Food Service.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Keith Donovan.
Good evening, Council President. Congratulations. Congratulations to the rest of the council. Council aides, welcome. My name is Keith Donath. I'm acting director of Parks and Rec, otherwise known as the Department of Recreation and Youth Development. I'm here for one resolution, Resolution 26-036, number 10.28. This is a resolution authorizing a month-to-month extension not to exceed 3 months effective January 1st, 2026 with Clark Moynihan Landscaping LLC for the general maintenance and maintenance at Bayside Park, Audubon, Leonard Gordon, Hamilton Park, Berry Lane, Columbia, Riverview Fisk for the Department of Recreation and Youth Development.
This is for land.
Set
It's for landscaping.
landscaping.
And from January, so that would be January, February, March, right?
Yeah, we're in the RFP process right now.
Okay, I mean, my whole issue with, I don't like the fact that we outsource these type of services. I remember working in recreation and working in DPW. We had these machines to do this stuff. And I just think that as a city, we have to find out a way where we can keep as many services in-house for us to perform. So I guess my bigger question is, what specifically will they be doing in January, February, and March, seeing that the weather is really, if it's not snow, the grass is going to be too hard. So what specifically are they going to be doing?
There's planting, there's cleaning, there's all the above that normal park maintenance goes through. They've been doing this this is, I think, the third year of this contract. As for what you just said, I don't disagree. I just think that we've been in this contract. It takes time to build up a new parks department. So we're in the process, depending on if it's the administration's wishes to move ahead like that.
Okay, so there's
a lot of work to do. There's always work to do in the parks. And also these guys also are on the snow contract. So all these parks were also taken care of on the snow contract.
For snow. Yeah. Okay. Well, when they gonna do Audubon? Because they ain't been.
Audubon was done. I have pictures.
When today?
It was done yesterday. I have pictures from it all day today.
Audubon Park was done yesterday.
Audubon Park was done yesterday.
What time?
Peter, what time did they text you?
I don't recall.
Sorry about that.
Quite a few texts yesterday.
Quite a few times. I'll get all that information for you. I'm putting together a report.
Because, well, I know in the daytime it was, I don't know if it was in the evening or in the afternoon, but in the morning time, definitively it wasn't done.
Okay, I'll check into it and we'll talk to him. And I do have some discussions I want to do with the vendor as well. Because I wasn't 100% satisfied, but I need to have a separate conversation with them
Okay, and it's month to month for 3 months, right?
for 3 months as the RFP is being done. There's also another one on top of that that takes care of Persian and Gateway Park.
It was, does it make more sense for one vendor to do all of them as it relates to having a reasonable price?
They do both of them. Something happened between, before me, where they added on 2 more parks. So then the contract was kind of split. So they've just been kind of going forward with it. That's why we're actually wanted to do one RFP for everything, but we had to renew the Pershing and the Gateway at that same time. So we caught up in a little time thing.
Well, I guess for the administration, if we can at least have the conversation as it relates to trying to bring it in-house. I can't imagine, and again, I don't want to diminish anyone's services or anything, but I can't imagine I'm doing anything out that's special that people in DPW can't do.
I'm open to it, Councilman. We are in the process of doing the budget and everything, so that'd be a time to have that conversation.
Yes.
This is Councilwoman Little in Ward E. I would like to agree with Councilman Gilmore about the potential benefits of bringing this in-house, and I'm really encouraged to hear that that's something that you're already looking into. I think it probably makes sense to do 3 months in the meantime to allow, time for that transition. I can't speak to the other parks, but I have met with members of the Hamilton Park Conservancy, and they expressed an interest in, so this is a landscaping company, right? They expressed an interest in having people with more knowledge of horticulture. And my thinking is that if we were to bring it in-house, we could be more hands-on with sort of like what their area of specialty is. And, I know Hamilton Park, for example, continuously has issues with the grass, and, just it feels like not only could we have these be city jobs in the future potentially, but also we could maybe have greater oversight over exactly what it is, what we're looking to get out of it.
Sure. That all sounds great. Dawn Giambalvo is now on our team. She is a specialist in that area. We take a lot of advice from her as well. Hopefully we're building her team up. That way we could beautify all the parks. There's a lot of work that we can do in there. These can be all award-winning parks from the south side all the way up to the heights. So any support, any of that, I am definitely happy about that.
Thank you.
So, this is Councilman Navarro. Hi, Keith. Yeah.
Welcome back.
So this is month to month. Is there a bid out currently? Is that,
The RFP is, it's still in the process.
Yeah.
So, I have the information for it, but yeah, we're there.
Right. So I'm just resetting, kind of level setting expectations. So there's a bid, there'll be a contract award, and then we'll be probably in a contractual service for the next year from March,
Good amount of
April
time to
on,
be able to
right?
build our,
As opposed to in-house at that point.
which we need some time to definitely build up though.
Yeah.
Have to hire people who still new to.
We're looking at about 12 months to 12 months before we can
I
even
would
talk
say
about it.
that's the safest bet.
Yeah. And then my other question is really to the BA. And so this is month to month. We were talking about the last month to month for the PT. So are we going to be seeing a claim coming before the council at a future meeting on this? And I hazard the answer is, well, I'd like to hear the answer.
No, there wouldn't be a specific
No,
thing coming to
it
the
won't.
council.
Because you're authorizing it.
Well, there'll be a
That's my
claim to
point.
pay
The
thing,
difference
but
is we're
we don't need
actually
the act of it.
authorizing it here. If we pass this, we're going to authorize it, but the other one was not authorized by the city council. And that's why we went month to month for, I'm sorry to beat a dead horse. I'm going to beat it till it's dead. And we need to not be approving those contracts this is the appropriate way to do it. We're about a month behind, but that's okay. I mean, it's month to month at this point. But I just wanted to flag that and make sure that we clear about that.
I appreciate it, Councilman.
Thank you.
Good to have you back, Councilman.
Thanks, Ken.
I do want to just say one thing. I just want to acknowledge the Division of Parks for the work they've done over the last 3 days. We're a little bit separate than DPW. It's been 3 days in the parks and the crews were out early, stayed late. They did all the parks and the paths and on all the public spaces. And I just wanted to make sure that was on record.
Yeah, say thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Oh,
Well, Director, I think you have,
Thank you.
you have a question? Okay.
Park Neighborhood, I'm sorry, were you saying?
No, go ahead.
Hamilton Park Neighborhood Association especially shared that you have been proactive and doing exceptionally well. So thank you so much for your work.
that means a lot. Thank you.
Yes, thanks to the Parks employees. Just quickly, is this the same contractor that a couple of years ago was responsible for cutting down a ton of plant life at Riverview Park? Because I know folks at Riverview were really, really upset when landscapers just did excessive cutting and trimming. So I just wanted to see, is this?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this was the same one. This was about 3 years ago. That was their first year on the contract. The Riverview Park made sure that it wouldn't happen again.
Okay, so actions have been taken. They know what to do. They know their parameters of what kind of, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, HHS.
Good evening, Council President, new and returning council members. Congratulations to all of you and looking forward to working with you and working with you for the first time to, looks like most of you. I am Paul Cate, Director of Disease Prevention for Health and Human Services and Acting Director of Injury Prevention for Health and Human Services. Tonight I have agenda number 10.30, Resolution 26038. This is a resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract for Dr. Gonzalez, our Chief Medical Officer, doing business as LifeMod LLC. The term of this contract is 1 year, commencing January 1st of 2026 to 12/31 of 2026. Just as background, this essentially allows the city clinic to perform its STI testing, HIV testing, immunization services, and our civil surgeon exams through Immigrant Affairs under his guidance and through his medical license.
What was the number again?
Resolution 26038, Agenda 10.30. Any questions I can answer for you?
Questions?
It was easy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Laura, Tax Assessor's Office.
Good afternoon, council members, and good afternoon, council president, and congratulations to the new members. I'm Laura Takuri, the city assessor. I'm here for one resolution, item number 10.3, resolution number 26-11, resolution granting the veterans exemption on block 29404, lot 60, for the property at 60 Lembeck, for the property local property of taxation pursuant to the NJSA 544-3.30, properties owned by 100% disabled veterans are eligible for 100% exemption on their primary residence. Therefore, I'm requesting the municipal council to authorize the tax collector to refund or cancel the amount in taxes of $1,220.82 for 2 months of 2025. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Drew Bankhart.
Good afternoon, Council President, council members. Congratulations to everyone. My name is Drew Banghart. I'm the Acting Director of the Department of Infrastructure. I have 2 items for you today. The first of which is item number 3.2, Ordinance 26-002, This is a first reading ordinance for disabled parking. Just to maybe familiarize you a little bit, there is always a committee that's set up to vote on these things for the disabled parking per applications made to the city. The committee met in November. This didn't have time to make it through the first and second reading with the last administration. So these are going before you all today, just to be codified and put into the city ordinance as legitimate spaces.
Questions? Next.
And the next item is 10.7, Resolution 26-015. This is an amendment to the agreement with the New York Waterway for the Port Liberté ferry service. Based on the original authorization, the level of service has increased. We do have a grant to cover the amount, $325,000 to continue the services through basically July 3rd it would end. Any questions?
Yes, this councilperson at first, is this grant specifically directed exactly toward this service, or is it a grant that could be used in other places?
This one in particular is only for this ferry service.
Okay, great. And I just also wanted to know, going forward, because grants, if that's okay, Councilman, because grants are one-offs, what's the plan for NY Waterways' long-term financial stability? Also, if we plan on increasing funding for them as a city, whether through grants or otherwise, can we get some guarantees in terms of fare stability for riders? Is the next contract that we have with NY Waterways already underway? I know I'm giving a couple different questions right now, but yeah, I'm just curious about, what's next for this contract.
Not a problem. I will admit that I'm kind of taking over the role of the transportation planning director who just finished up with the city on Friday. There are plans in motion to, obviously go for more grants. We've been looking at teaming up with the Bayonne, potential Bayonne ferry service and adding that to the route with New York Waterway to help stabilize, the fares and, keep this something that's sustainable. And I could definitely get you more information from the team back in my office.
Thank you. That would be great. I would love any information that transportation has.
Thank you, Director. What is the ticket price for Port Liberté ferries to New York City?
I think currently it's less than $10, I think, down at that location. It's somewhere between $6 and $9.
Okay. And so what happens in case of ferries going from downtown Exchange Place and Hoboken to the city and then Port Liberté ferries? Why are they just getting grant for that particular area? Just trying to understand why we need grants for just Port Liberté, not downtown and Hoboken and other places. Or down,
Because 4-day people are special. No.
Because
why were they?
This ferry terminal ceased to exist when New York Waterway solely operated that. So the city looked into ways of reinstating it, as a viable option for commuters down there, and sought the grants and kind of made it happen with agreements with the actual property owner that still owns the terminal slip itself. So that's why this grant was focused on that one location.
So you're assuming this is going to continue for years to come?
Definitely not assuming that, but definitely looking into ways to make it exist in the
Because
long term.
population is increasing. There are a lot of people are moving to that part of the city. So we feel that there will be a lot more people commuting. So will that change? They will be independent enough, or any idea? Or if no, that's fine. Just curious to learn about that.
No, we have plans to, keep that a viable location. We're talking to the developer about there's going to be a parking deck in the area to allow public parking there, likely at a fee, but to help, we're looking to add city bike stations proximate to the ferry so that there's, other ways of getting down there and multimodal and then, hopping on the ferry and taking that over to New York.
Director, Michael Griffin here. Are we looking to continue to seek these grants? I see, we received a grant for $4 million for this. Are we looking at, going after that again?
Yeah, this specific one may not be available, but anyone that we could use to help subsidize this, we would look into. This grant was more focused in relation to COVID, but anything that we can get, we will go for.
So is this American Rescue Plan dollars, is it unspent at this point? Are we still spending COVID money? Is that, this is federal money, right?
This grant still has funding in that grant account. Beyond anything else with my department, I don't know.
Can we get balances on that account to see where that stands and what is the timeline for spending this? Because I read in the news that our president is, use that term loosely, but that he's trying to take that money back and claw it all back from our local municipalities. So can we get some details on that?
I can get you this account for sure.
Yeah, for the new account, I'll have the Director Banghart help with that. Additionally, we have been very diligent at trying to spend any previous or any money that was linked to previous years from federal dollars. You'll notice that there's 2 resolutions, I believe, on this agenda tonight for CDBG funding that we're trying to spend as quickly as possible for that exact reason.
This is Councilwoman Little in Ward E. I am just trying to understand better the nature of this subsidy. So it sounds like we are not actually subsidizing the ticket prices for commuters, but rather we are helping New York Waterway make a certain threshold of profit such that they operate this Port Liberté station. Is that a correct understanding?
To my knowledge, yes. There is a subsidy. The ticket prices are less than they were prior to this city, kind of working to reinstate this ferry terminal. So there is a portion that is subsidized, and it is a smaller fare than what existed in the past.
Okay, and thank you. And the vision is that, we're doing these other things like the city bike station and things like that, so that in the near future, hopefully this subsidy is not required and that New York Waterways will be happy to run the Port Liberté ferry without subsidy from, I understand it's a grant right now, but I have, serious reservations about using taxpayer dollars to subsidize this ferry serving a very limited affluent portion of Jersey City, rather than potentially other transit options throughout Jersey City. So do we have sort of a timeline on, when those other factors might make it possible for this ferry station to operate without needing a subsidy?
I'd have to look into some of the construction down there to see what those timelines are for the parking deck and agreements that would need to be made, things of that nature. This particular agreement with New York Waterway does end July 3rd. So, that paints a little bit of the timeline. And the city bike station is already ongoing. Because we don't own the property, we'd have to enter into an agreement with the property owner to site a location down there. The area's also in flux with, future streets that would be dedicated to the city, but haven't been done yet. So there's, a couple hurdles that we need to clear first.
Thank you.
The overall goal is to increase ridership to make it, sustainable and stand on its own without any involvement with the city subsidizing.
Thank you.
Do we know what the ridership is at currently and what it needs to get to for us not to use subsidies?
I don't have that exact information. I do know since the inception, we're at around 100,000 rides.
That
Is that rides, like trips, or ridership numbers of
100,000
people?
riders a month, a day, a week?
That's since the inception of the agreement. So that was May 2023. So a little less than 3 years, 100,000 rides.
100,000.
In the last-
Boat rides, not number of people on the boats.
That's based on the ticket, 100,000 purchased tickets.
Tickets, okay.
So if you can get more clarification on this, that will be great, Director. I also feel there are developers, they are developing, and their unique selling point in that area is you get ferries, right, from Port Liberty to New York City. How are they contributing? Are they contributing something towards this? Because I'm new, so trying to understand, I feel instead of taxpayers' money, we should ask developers who are developing left, right, and center there and not giving back to the community and selling on this point, a major point that transportation is right there. So just when you dig deeper, if you can get answer, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Director.
Certainly.
And the last question, I know you're full of questions that you're going to help get us answers to, so I appreciate that. But my understanding is that part of the request for more money that NY Waterways has given us is due to ridership increasing 38%. I think I have that number right. I'm just wondering what the relationship is between that ridership increase and the need for more funding. Is it because they needed to bring more boats because the boats were so full that they had to increase rides, or is it just they need more staff on each ferry because of the increased riders? So I'm curious, like where the need for more money is coming from exactly.
Okay, I'll have to get clarification from the team. I know it's derived from the original contract from 2023, that the language in there included this level of service. So in 2023, it was, this base level of service because that increased. That's why, this extra money came into play, but I'll have to get you the exact details.
Thanks, Director. Yep.
If I'm understanding correctly, we've got a 3-year contract. It's expiring in July. And have we paid for the entire 3-year contract, and now we're increasing the amount today with this resolution because of some other costs related to the cost of service? Is that?
Yeah, it's the level of service we're at today has triggered this increase, and to fulfill from now until the end of the contract, we need this extra money to keep the level of service where it is.
I would request if I can get a copy of the original authorizing resolution and any subsequent amendments to that contract and the amendments, as well as how they were funded, which should be in the resolution. But if you could just make that simple for me by just clarifying, was it all paid for through American Rescue Act, Plan Act money, or is it, did we use other sources?
Yes, to my understanding, getting caught up on this item, it was all funded through the grant. This $325,000 will also come from the same grant, and there's still additional funding left in the grant that was planned for, ferry terminal upgrades and things of that nature, which, can then be programmed into something else if we want to continue the service.
Okay, if you could just verify that for me with where the funding came from the past.
Yes.
And then if I can to the BA and your office at again, on the American Rescue Act of balance, but also if you can give me past drawdowns on that, what we've spent is it our $4 million allocation? Is that?
Double check after that. I don't know off the top of my head, but yes, I could.
Yeah, if you could provide detail on that. Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Director Anderson.
Good evening, Council President, members of the council. My name is Deja Anderson, and I'm the Director of the Division of Community Development, and that's housed inside of the Department of Housing, Economic Development, and Commerce. I have 3 resolutions for you today. The first one is Agenda Item 10.5, and that's Resolution Number 26-013. And this is a resolution to authorize the business administrator to execute the discharge of a mortgage encumbering the property at 422-424 Halliday Street here in Jersey City. This item was actually brought before council previously on September the 10th, 2025 via resolution 25-589. After we came up with this number, the attorney that was representing the buyer did ask us to recalculate the payoff amount. So I did send all the information to the real estate appraisal company that our office is contracted with. And they did perform a new appraisal and provide me with an updated report. And therefore, I'm making a change for the repayment amount, which was initially $110,137.59 to the updated number of $91,137.59.
So initially, as I understand, the first calculation was also done by the same people, right?
No, it was not. In my review of office procedures and the staff that were working on this task, it seems like they utilized the previous procedure of using the assessment ratio that we were getting from the tax assessor's office, and they did not forward this calculation to the appraisal company as required by office policy and procedure.
So it was an internal glitch.
That is correct.
So it went from 107 to now 90.
It went from $110,137.59 to $91,137.59.
Okay, so I guess the bigger question is how many deed restriction properties that we did do the discharge on follow that same formula versus following what the current formula is?
There will be a distinction in the time that the office did contract with the appraisal company to begin providing us with an updated appraisal and allow us to come with this calculation. I do believe in my research and my work with the compliance team in the office that this was a one-off error.
Okay, now Deja, just for, I mean, I'm privy to these departments, but just for the other council people, mainly the at-large people, if you can just explain briefly the situation with these 95.5 houses, where are we at with the reassessment and recapture amount?
In the nutshell of me doing a very high level explanation of what this 95.5 process is, this was a situation where the state has a mandatory recapture program in reference to their affordable housing projects, mostly in the home ownership realm, where the city did adopt some of that language and commingle those documents with items coming out of the Division of Community Development from federally funded affordable housing projects. Where we stand right now in reference to that, we are in communication and working with the law department based on information coming out of the state of New Jersey, allowing us as the municipality to have greater control and decide how we are going to calculate and recapture any repayments due.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, we're still doing recalculations? with the 95.5 homeowners?
At this time, correct, yes, we are.
Okay, and do we have a anticipated time when we can reach out to the homeowners and let them know what the recalculations are? Because just from personal experience, dealing with homeowners, they're like, it's a big headache for them. And you got some people that want to sell their properties, but if they do, they're not getting anything really for it. So do we have a timeline?
So understood. At this time, we do not have a timeline. We're waiting just for a conversation with, new council, new administration coming in, corporation council to decide what the path forward on behalf of DCD is going to be.
Well, we don't have a exact timeline, but we have made some headway as it relates to meetings we had with the specific ratios and stuff like that. Because to Mike's point, we're doing one now that had we not intervened, the calculation would have been different.
Correct, which is emphasized by this corrective resolution that we're doing today, where the number is less in what the residents had to recapture. We also know via that court case that the city was involved in that it did change. So the city of Jersey City did use a far more favorable recapture calculation than what the state required in the first place. All homeowners that were in properties where their restricted periods have expired were eligible to come talk to us in the office for us to conduct a recapture analysis and provide them what the tentative repayment amount would be. Again, given this new information coming in from the state and allowing the municipality to set our own policy and procedures that again could change and become even more favorable to the constituency here in Jersey City.
And also, what we found out was happening, working with some of these homeowners is when the contract was up, they were being assessed at full market rate. Is that something you could speak to or?
That is not, and
Or-
would likely defer to the law department because tax assessments is out of the realm of DCD.
Okay, thank you.
Law department, y'all ready or no? Give John the mic, Brittany. Come on, John.
And
very
just
versatile.
to clarify what I'm talking about, I did work with a family. We went to the county to do a tax assessment, and they told them to come back because they were working on recalculations.
I think we might be talking about something possibly a little different here. You're talking about the 95.5 restricted units that were getting assessed at their full market value for the purpose of paying taxation. Is that what you're asking about? Yeah, we have been working on that. There was litigation on it. I would have to check with our tax appeals counsel to see if that's actually been resolved or not yet. But yes, we're aware of the issue.
So can we, I guess, just maybe send a memo around to the council on where we are with that? Because we're starting to get the questions again with the new council coming in, and we need to be able to respond to residents and let them know what the status is of the whole 95.5 situation.
Sure. So the 95.5 situation, because I think we might be conflating potentially two different things. The HMFA just updated their regulations that gave municipalities the ability to decide whether they wanted to continue to take back the full 95% difference or if you wanted to take nothing back. So we would need to adopt an ordinance on that to put it into our code, what the calculation is going to be. That's a discussion that we should have with the administration and amongst yourselves. And as soon as you're ready to move on that, I know Councilman Gilmore has been very eager to do that, and I'm available to all of you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deja. Deja, I want to thank you. I know I've been pestering you a lot with this, with these calls for like the last 3 years. But I'm glad. I think we've seen a lot of progress. While everything isn't always worked out, I think that the homeowners are going to be way more happier with where we at today versus where we were when we started. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And I just want to note, your outreach to our office is never a pester, and we appreciate your advocacy on behalf of the constituents of Jersey City. The next item that I have for you is item 10.10, and that's resolution 26-018. And that's a resolution awarding community development block grant funds under our public facilities category out of fiscal year 2022 unallocated funds, and also authorizing the execution of a subrecipient agreement with St. Joseph's School for the Blind for improvements at 761 Summit Avenue in Jersey City. So brief high-level explanation, they were in dire need of a lighting project at the Concordia House. So this project includes installing LED recessed lighting, upgrading the electrical system, and rehabilitating the interior of the facility, which is going to provide bright, effective, and efficient lighting throughout the interior of the property for the clients who are all visually impaired and multi-disabled residents. And this project is eligible. It meets our national objective of benefiting low to moderate income persons through a selected limited clientele criteria. Okay, the award amount for this project is $142,827.
Question?
I have a couple of questions, if I may. First of all, you're the director of community development, yes?
That is correct.
Okay. All the documentation saying Jade Wyatt, just so you know. So,
I was out on a FMLE.
you were?
And she was acting director at the time, who did sign and put forth this documentation with appropriate signature.
thank you.
You're welcome.
For that. The second thing with regard to this is, can you just explain to me the process by which someone's funded or awarded grantees, and this is more for the public, and how you arrived at selecting St. Joe's School for the Blind?
This is a very lengthy selection process. What I'll say twofold. First fold is we are looking forward to reaching out with each of you as individual council people and your aides and providing an in-depth tutorial on the Division of Community Development and how we make these decisions, what our funding sources and amounts are. And we do host monthly open house to educate the community on our processes, procedures, and how we go forth. So there is 5-year consolidated planning that's required. There's annual action plan that is required. There's public consultation that is required. There's public survey that's required. Once all of that information is put together. Now for our public facilities funding specifically, that is done on an open rolling application. So at any time, any agency or my internal city partners that are looking for funding for public facilities projects that will benefit the community as a whole, are entitled to apply. Once they apply, based on the availability of funding and the scoring of their project, recommendations are made to DCD, to our director of HEDC, and then we move forward and bring these recommendations to you after consultation with the administration.
Is there a committee, or is it who's involved in reviewing those applications?
We use a platform called Neighborly, so it's scored online, and our initial scoring committee is done by the team inside of DCD.
It's a DCD staff team.
Yes, specifically for our public facilities projects, we do have numerous processes for our different funding sources.
And is there like recommendations, or like do they, after they review and do their assessment and whatever rubric they use, do you have records of that to show, and do applications get denied?
Applications are denied. Typically, we deny applications based on thresholds. If they don't have those items, we don't move forward with the application. Also, applications can be denied based on the availability of funding. If someone comes and asks me for $8 million and there's only $1 million in the account, we will deny the application.
I'm going to defer to my colleagues and then I'll come back at the next one, I think.
Sure.
A brief question. Good to know these improvements are going to get made at St. Joseph's. Is this all an internal project to the building? Is there any kind of construction that would be on Summit Avenue? Any kind of improvements that would need to disrupt service on Summit Avenue in terms of like wiring and things on the outside?
This is all internal work to the building, nothing to the outside. And then we do an in-depth review from all funding sources here in DCD, which does require a comprehensive environmental review. So we check all other impacts associated, whether that's noise pollution, all of those things. And that's documented, and I can provide that information upon request.
Hello, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Now, do you know what impact this may have on the kids, or are they looking to do this work when the kids are out, or that's out of your?
That is not part of the scope that was reviewed in reference to how they're going to remove the kids. Likely, they're not going to be able to do that construction with them there, but I can follow up with the team at St. Joseph's to provide you a direct response to that question.
Next.
And the last item that I have for you is agenda item 10.11, and that is resolution 26-019. And this is a resolution to authorize unallocated funds coming from fiscal year 2023 of our community development block grant for public facilities, and for the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire, for the purchase of one Skeeter high water rescue vehicle. The amount for this is $515,000.00.
I have two questions.
Yes.
And this is more to the BA. You mentioned earlier that these funds, like the American Rescue Act, that there was some timing on having to spend these dollars. Is this the grant you're referring to, that we have to spend these dollars, and is there a timing issue here?
I would say I'll jump in there and provide that clarification. We do, and to Mr. Horton's credit, have time-sensitive funding in the office currently. We do have community development block grant titled CV for coronavirus funds that are in our possession. We have about $68,000 of that funding that has been currently unexpended and unallocated. However, we have identified a project to allocate those funds, which would mean 100% of our CDBG CV dollars have been allocated, and we are online to spend them timely with our deadline of September 1st, 2027 to have all of those funds expended. We're also in possession of Home ARP, that's the Home American Rescue Plan dollars, which have a deadline to be expended by September the 30th of 2030, and that's $6.5 million for housing for homeless and connected services.
This funding is not that.
These fundings are not that funding. This is coming from our CDBG public facilities from our 2023 grant year. And just for me to be clear on this, this isn't necessary. This is us awarding them the funds. We did reach out to get some ideas, so we would ensure that we are engaging in cost reasonableness when trying to decide how much we wanted to allocate for this project, to public safety's credit, and in collaboration with us and trying to close gaps here in the community. We want to ensure that we had a rescue vehicle that's going to meet the needs of our ADA community. So this would allow in areas and us undergoing these environmental reviews and sustainability reviews. We understand that flooding is going to be a major issue in the city, and we needed to be able to ensure that we can evacuate our disabled community members just as effectively and efficiently as we can evacuate anyone else out of the community. So the need is grounded in the data and the services that we're currently able to provide. This resolution is what is going to allow us to set up the grant account line and allow public safety to draft and issue their RFP to go out to get bids for this service.
So I've made this point before in the past that this is a fire vehicle, fire apparatus of some sort, right? And you said
ADA rescue vehicle.
compliant, so.
Yes.
You know, while it may technically meet the requirements of the CDBG program and the public facilities program, for all other types of public safety equipment and capital costs, we generally use capital dollars, bond dollars on that. And we do it for vehicles and other places that are not in Ward F, Ward A. I'm assuming this is Ward B here. So it meets kind of the eligibility, 255 Kearney Avenue around that. And we don't use that because it's not eligible to use those funds if we housed it at Marin Boulevard Firehouse or something like that, right? So, which I think is gone now, actually. I'm not sure where that stands, but that being said, I would advise and urge the administration to look at using capital dollars for these types of purchases. It used to come up where parks would be funded through CDBG dollars if it was in Ward F or Ward A. And I advocated against that, not because it shouldn't be funded. It should be funded, but it should be funded, in my estimation, just like every other park and treated the same like every other neighborhood and resident with capital dollars. These dollars, in my estimation, can be used for other purposes that more directly serve the purposes of CDBG, which is addressing essentially poverty amelioration and addressing the needs of low-income communities more directly. We could be building, and I remember making these arguments before, is we could be building a job training facility. We could be building youth recreation centers, $500,000. We could build the recreation center in Ward A, right? It could be a lot of different things that we could do with these dollars rather than use capital dollars, rather than using CDBG dollars for this. We could use capital dollars. That's just me and my high horse, and I'll end it with that and just urge the administration to take another look at this. If it's not urgent to spend these dollars right now, I'd ask you to reconsider that and look into reappropriating this to other projects that might be more worthy or may more directly affect and impact the lives of Jersey City residents on a low-income residents on a more day-to-day basis in that sense.
Yeah, no, I just want to jump on that high horse with Rolando and, say that, that we have a lot of nonprofits in the community who are running on shoestring budgets that need the assistance.
Yep.
To make sure they're running their programs and to take care of the community and, communities in the title. So when it comes to buying equipment, for city services, I think we should be looking at capital expenditure.
Yes, the bigger question, Peter, is one, what is a Skeeter High water rescue vehicle? What is it in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, it's a vehicle that can kind of, I guess, travel through high water or flood zones and pick up or be used to rescue individuals that may be trapped in flooded areas or traverse through flooded areas. Should we have an incident like at the medical center when it flooded? I know the medical center is taking some precautions about that, but there's always a concern where, because a lot of Jersey City are in a area subject to flooding because of the changes in the environment and global warming, we just always want to make sure we're prepared as possible to have access to the equipment like that in the event of some kind of tragedy or disaster or anything that would occur.
So we don't have access to this type of vehicle right now as we speak.
I'd have to have fire to confirm that, but my understanding is we don't have this specific vehicle. I'd have to get confirmation about what kind of equipment they might have in general to address those situations, but I can get that from Councilman.
I'm sure they have something.
I'm sure they have numerous vehicles. I just don't know what the specifications are, what kind of environments they can handle.
I guess the bigger question is, with public safety budget, what it is, why can't they why do they have to utilize?
Well, this wouldn't be through the public safety budget. if we were to purchase this, like the councilman said, it'd be most likely through capital dollars, bonding, things of that nature. I'll defer a little bit to Deja on this, but I think part of the intention was, as the councilman kind of said earlier, and I want to be kind of limited what I put on the record with this, but there is a concern that with the changes in Washington and things happen around the country, that if we leave funding on the table for too long, it might get taken back and we won't be able to use it for anything. So I'll have a conversation with the director and see if there's anything else we might be able to devote this to in a quick
Yes, there's
matter.
I
I don't know. Not trying to undercut you, Kevin.
thought you needed help, my bad.
No, I'm just saying, that I know a lot of CDB funding, there's specific requirements on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's notice requirements, he has to go through a process. I just want to make sure that we could do that in a time period where it would not jeopardize the funding or put us in a situation where the funding might get taken back.
Noted.
I mean, $500,000 can go a long way in the community with the nonprofit serving it.
Because I'll get you an update by tomorrow and we'll determine if we make any adjustments and we can withdraw it.
Peter,
And
I
just,
just want to say, Peter, is it time sensitive grant?
Time sensitive grants, my understanding, and Deja, please correct me if I'm wrong. The concern is, I think to a degree, will that money be there if something in Washington or nationally would change?
thank you. So all of this will be covered when we go in our individual meetings and go through in-depth tutorials on how all of this grant funding works. Each of our different grant lines have different periods of performance and different times to spend. So theoretically, all of our grant funding is time sensitive. And then just in reference to the note about nonprofits, because I think this was a conversation that came up a lot with the last council, and there was a lot of education and conversation that needed to happen around this. Our nonprofit funding is capped, so we cannot just expand or spend all of our CDG money towards our nonprofit community, but I can go in depth and provide you with further information. And all of these ideas are great, and we actually welcome it and want your input and your feedback. So please feel free to read our 5-year consolidated plan and our annual action plan and provide us with feedback in writing so that we can include it in the plan.
Thank you.
Director, a question. Did what was the origin of the Skeeter high water rescue? Is that something that the fire department requested?
I think it was more of a collaboration meeting and conversation of us reviewing through DCD. So our lens here is about community partnerships, community resiliency, and community improvements. And we were noting areas where we weren't meeting our objectives to focus on our LMI disabled community. So for instance, over in our other boardroom where we're located in Annex 2, we made sure that we have hearing assistive technology. So when you're having meetings like this, residents who are using hearing aids can hear what you're saying directly from the microphone into their ears. Those are the things we want to encourage: civic participation and civic engagement, and us just acting as active advocates for our LMI and disabled community in the city.
Well, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I'm just reading up on the Skeeter high water rescue vehicle. It's designed to evacuate populations during high water rescues, emergency transportation situations, evacuations, and rehabilitation on extensive scenes. So I was just wondering what the need was that the city had for this vehicle, and highlighting both what council people Griffin and Lavaro stated about better use of the money.
I can share additional information and reporting later.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
Director Marion.
Tanya's. Is that Tanya? Oh, yeah, that's, you got your hat.
Yeah,
I couldn't see it. It's cold in here. I know.
Yes, Sean, why it's so cold here?
Wanted to wear my best for today.
Hi, Tanya.
New administration not taking care of.
Tanya Marion, Planning Division. Just so you know, city planning and zoning have been playing guess who of the new city council. So anybody in zoning should be able to know who you are at any time. So I'm ready today. I'm here for an ordinance, but I am also being told that the administration would like to pull it. So I can talk about it. That's ordinance item 3.3 on your agenda, ordinance 26-003 for the Liberty Harbor Amendment.
Tanya, can you give us a quick overview? Is it, we're planning to bring this back?
Yeah, so the intention is because there's a lot of moving elements to it, and we have a new council, we want the planning department to have a more in-depth conversation with the council members. So we'll do a brief introduction of the item tonight, just so you can hear what generally it's about. If anyone have any opinions of it or think that might affect them, then we have the next 2 weeks where I'll pull it at the council meeting tomorrow, and we'll reintroduce it at the following council meeting, you know, depending on the council conversations.
I'll ask the council members to hold any questions, and we can discuss with Tanya offline, but she'll give us a brief overview of the changes now.
So I actually want to, I believe we met with some of you and hopefully we'll meet with you a little bit further, but I want to kind of give you just a primer as to how redevelopment plan, how we'd get here. So the council has to authorize the planning division to create an amendment or even to create a redevelopment plan. A resolution was issued by the council last year, 2025, I believe early 2025. We then go ahead, we study, we propose the amendment working typically with the person who is requesting the amendment. It can be council who requests the amendment, or it is typically an applicant developer. Then that amendment will go before planning board, and the planning board will approve to recommend or not recommend to the city council. But ultimately, it is the city council who votes in the legislation zoning amendment. This is the first reading, so it has already gone to planning board. It went to planning board in October of 2025. This is the Liberty Harbor redevelopment plan, and it is to basically take an area that's the residential area of the Liberty Harbor redevelopment plan, which for the most part, if you're not familiar with it, is industrial. The park itself, Liberty Park itself, and the golf course. And there's one area that's designated for residential. It's been designated for quite some time, at least 20 years. This proposal is to move one tower closer to the water where there were currently townhouse structures proposed. So they will not be doing townhouse structures any longer. Instead, it will be replaced with 2 towers. Now, they'll go down from 5 towers to 6 towers, but it goes from 11 structures to 6. So they're taking all of the floor area and the units that would have been from the townhouse and the other tower and kind of making it more efficient. Now, the trick is that, of course, the number of units and the gross floor area that are permitted within that plan are not being changed. So there's no trigger for the inclusionary zoning ordinance per 187.
Oh, Tanya, if you can just speak to the
So glad I'm here, last one.
just so the council members know, just if you could speak to the actual area, like the location wise.
This is right, I guess it would be north of the golf course. It's very much directly adjacent to the golf course. I believe it's a parking lot now.
With a store, wait. No, it's in the park. It's not where that storage thingy is, it at, right? Because that's directly across storage.
Maybe the storage is across?
Across from the store, if I'm not mistaken.
So is it
in the same area with the golf course? It's the golf course property. It's on that same side.
Okay.
Is it directly next to that walkway that sort of goes next to the golf course? So is this fireman wanting to put a bunch of tall buildings right up against that walkway, basically?
So right now, the proposal for that area are townhouses. And yes, the proposal will be to take the townhouses that were being built further south and move that to further along the water. Basically creating kind of a more efficient. There's other things that are happening in the amendment. So the tower structures, there's about 5 towers now. There's an entire base that was supposed to be parking. So now the base of that parking will be removed and will be put as a singular structure, parking garage, where the tower would have been.
Oh, they thought that Liberty Park was going to be crowded because of a stadium. Wait till we get a load of these buildings.
Is that the one with 300 apartments?
This would be, the plan itself allows for a maximum of 2,000 units. Not the.
Did you
plan,
say
the entire-
1,000?
2,000.
2,000.
2, and a full build out is 2.
We could not find any information online about it, so we're just curious.
Does planning have any concerns with this proposal? Or are you not allowed?
So this
The
being
planning board
withdrawn, and
planning
Maya's
board
just doing an overview, so let's not put her on the spot right now,
All right.
but she will be
Sorry.
contacting each of the council members to discuss further.
I mean, even, although the units and the square footage is not changing, this is still an undertaking. And for the IZO not to kick in would be embarrassing for this administration, especially when we are here to make Jersey City more affordable. So, yeah, if this is, yeah, let's meet offline. We're taking this off, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification, it's a redevelopment plan, the council can write in an affordability mandate, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the other thing I saw, there was a maximum two parking spots allowed per studio apartment.
I don't know if it was studio. I know that they're increasing the maximum.
Yeah, it's 0.5 per each minimum, maximum 2, including for studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. Obviously, this is not an award seat, but I did want to chime in, given my own experience with the redevelopment plan on mandatory affordable units. And also I saw that about parking, so just wanted to bring that up.
Yes, the maximums are being raised though.
Just a follow-up question, this is Councilperson Efros. When Councilman Zupa says that we can amend to make sure that we get affordability requirements, is that for the entire redevelopment zone, or is that specifically for each project that we would make that amendment for?
So you are only able to view the scope of I'm only able to review the scope of what you asked me to review, which is this district within the redevelopment, residential district within the redevelopment plan.
So the write-in of affordability requirements would be for this district of the redevelopment zone, correct?
Should you wish to do it, yeah.
Thank you.
This is Councilwoman Little. Just to clarify, they are seeking to move from townhouses further away from the nature walkway to more high-rise buildings closer to the nature walkway. Given that they're seeking such a change, I want to piggyback on what Council members Griffin and Zupa said about, if they're asking for this change, and, I think this would be pretty obtrusive to the enjoyment of the waterfront walkway, and it seems like they're getting out of the IZO on a technicality. So if we are amending the redevelopment plan, I would propose that we write in mandatory minimums percentages of affordable housing. So thank you, colleagues, for raising that.
Okay.
And just to be clear, for the public, we're talking about 2,000 apartments units. So 20% is 400 affordable housing units.
Thank you, Director.
Facing New York City.
Okay, that's all I have. Sean, we can take it from the top.
With pleasure. All right, on to our first reading ordinance, item 3.1, City Ordinance 26-001 is an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Administration of Government, Article 11, Department of Public Safety, Sub-Article 1, Division of Police, and Chapter 160 fee schedule established, subsection 7 fees for the Department of Public Works of the Municipal Code to reform the off-duty and public works rental for nonprofit and cultural events.
I've been hogging the mic tonight, so I'm going to let our law department give a little brief explanation.
This is actually Isaac's, but we're here now. For introduction, this is what the mayor spoke about. The city will cover a percentage of the cost for all off-duty police, traffic, enforcers and/or crossing guards for specific cultural events. We will cover the administrative costs. This excludes marathons, 5Ks, or other runs. The cost that the city is proposing to cover is if the event total costs are less than $10,000, the city will cover 25% of the cost. And if it's greater than $10,000, the city will cover 50% of the cost. This also adds an administrative fee, which will be at the bare minimum $22 or 10% of the costs of off-duty. This excludes from the administrative fee nonprofits using city property and also the Jersey City Housing Authority. They want to simplify as well as presenting one single invoice so that the community groups will not have to go back and forth and have multiple updated invoices. There is a second addition where we're going to do some cost sharing as well along the same vein to cover the percentage of rentals of equipment, floats, bleachers, and things like that used for parades with the same parameters. If the costs are less than $10,000, we'll cover 25%. Greater than $10,000, cover 50% of the cost. And again, one invoice from the Department of Public Works. Some of the items people rent beside the floats, dumpsters, litter patrol, shovels, garbage bags, things like that, they're all listed in that portion of the code. So that is what is being presented. This is a first reading. So if you have any questions, we can discuss with the administration, but those are the major changes.
Okay.
I have a question. Is this it?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Can we get clarity on the crossing guard pay that's in this? There's some confusion about whether the crossing guards would be getting $10 an hour for this. Is that $10 an hour on top of the normal pay as overtime?
I'll clarify. I highly doubt it's $10.
Yeah.
So we'll check to see if it's in
That would
addition,
be,
but we'll,
just wanted to make sure.
yeah.
Okay. We were just reading through and caught that and a little confused. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Sean, next.
Okay, items 3.2 and 3.3 were touched on earlier. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 26-004 is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of Block 11612, Lot 3, more commonly known by the street address of 95 Morgan Street, from 95 Morgan Street Development LLC.
Questions?
Is this looks like a development and then a private street is, oh, the attorney's here?
Good evening. I'm Tom Lean from Connell Foley. This is related to the development of 107 Morgan Street. This piece of property, it's a 50 by 100 at the corner. Oh, sorry if you can hear me better now. It's a vacant lot that's currently being used by the Boys and Girls Club as their community garden. It's owned by the developers of 107 Morgan Street, which is within this same block. It's essentially an undevelopable piece of property. It is next to an existing condo. If somebody were to build something there, it would block all the windows on that condo building. So in working with city planning to develop 107 Morgan Street, we agreed to just simply convey this property outright to the city. It's my understanding that the CID is going to take it over. The Exchange Place Special Improvement District is going to take it over. I'm not exactly sure what the intention there is, but it's going to be for a community benefit because essentially piece of property can't be actually built out under the redevelopment plan.
So my question is, if the Boys and Girls Club is using it for a community garden, why not convey it to them?
That's a great question. I would speak to I would ask the city. I mean, my understanding is they're working with the Special Improvement District. Nothing stops the city from outright leasing it to the Boys and Girls Club. I know there'd been some talk of possibly putting a playground there or even a pocket park. But essentially, it's just something that we worked out with the prior administration that we have no problem conveying it to the city, and we think it's a benefit to the area.
But the ordinance conveying it doesn't designate whether it goes to historic downtown or
That's
anyone
correct.
else.
It's going out right to the city. What the city does with it afterwards, that's going to be an act of the city council. You're going to have to enter into a lease with whoever you want to send it to. So, but As of right now, it is our understanding it is going to the SID, but that's up to the city council once they,
Which SID?
the Exchange Place Special Improvement District.
But I mean, ultimately, it's gonna be up to us,
Correct.
whoever ultimately gets.
That's correct.
So did you say what the land can't be developed?
It's a very small parcel at the corner, and it's really enwrapped by an existing condominium building. So there's lot line windows on it. If you were to build anything there, it would be to the great detriment of the people who live in that building. There would be massive setback issues. I don't think you could actually, under the redevelopment plan as it's written, create a developable parcel there.
So developers care about people's views? That is interesting.
I know this is shocking.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3.5, City Ordinance 26-005 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to 20 VANW LLC by a managing member Hangguan Zhang, allowing the installation of concrete stairs to extend into the right-of-way beyond boundary lines of Lot 38, Block 12003, and are for the benefit of Lot 38, Block 12003, commonly known as 20 Van Wagon Avenue in Jersey City.
Yes, I have a question. The stairs already impose the public right of way. Is that why there's a franchise being granted? Because it's a narrow block there on Van Wagon. And I looked at the plans. It didn't look like it was extending beyond where the current stairs are.
I don't know if we have a representative from the organization here. This was not brought by the administration. This was a
Yeah,
petition.
no, this was actually brought on by my office. We take in all of the we take in all of the franchise and vacation ordinances, but to answer your question, councilperson, yes, it's because it's impeding on the public right of way. A franchise ordinance is therefore necessary in order to have that. And unfortunately, the attorney wasn't able to be here today because of the rescheduling of the meeting and the weather.
Yeah, my question would be, do the stairs that are currently constituted already impede on city property? Otherwise, these stairs are going to be extending into the sidewalk, and it's kind of an odd configuration. So I don't want to get into a habit of pulling things, but I'd really like to talk to the applicant.
Well, we can always withdraw it and bring it back on to the next meeting so we can make sure that the attorney is here for the applicant.
And we can follow up if they're not able to get back to you before introduction, then
Yeah,
pull it at that point.
just tomorrow.
Better work fast.
Tomorrow's Wednesday, yes.
Just for clarification, would the councilman Ward sheet just say to pull it just one last time so we could, hear that?
I'm hearing someone else's voice in my head right now.
All right, next, Sean.
There are no second reading ordinances. Moving on to our public speakers. At this time, we have 42. They're still signing up. Our petitions and communications, council members, especially the newer council members, these are communications that either come in via mail or email to my office and that I share with the members of the public and also the members of the city council. So if anyone is looking for a copy of any of these communications, all you have to do is just let me know and I'll provide you with a copy. And then I'll always ask if you have any questions or comments on those petitions or communications. There are no officer communications. Office communications would be communications between two city departments or divisions. Report of directors.
Sorry, Sean, may I make a request?
Sure.
Has there ever been, just for ease of reading through board labels on the different communications and petitions? So that, for instance, 6.6 91 Sherman Place, that could have Ward D labeled on it, just for the ease of Ward Council people to be able to identify which petitions and communications pertain to the district.
That's something that we'll discuss a little offline. You got to remember, Councilman, these are communications coming in from, outside entities, not inside the city. So that would be a task that you would create work from my office in order to try to put these in categories, which you know, sometimes we have like almost near 100 of them. So
Understood. I just saw this for some of the resolutions, so I was wondering, but understood. Thank you. I'll do my reading.
thank you.
Yeah.
Reported directors. So you see here, there's 3 reported directors. These are executive orders that were issued by the mayor.
Sean, can I get copies of all the executive orders?
Absolutely. I'm also going to have them posted on the city's website under the mayor's office, which they belong once the mayor signs them. So I'll provide copies to all council members, department directors, and obviously place it on the website. Also, you'll also see here, if you ever see a letter from a department director, that's what they'll be listed as. Okay, claims, and then on to our resolutions. First resolution, item 10.1, City Resolution 26-009 is a resolution introducing and approving the 2026 budget of the Jackson Hill, Maine Special Improvement District, directing the city clerk to publicly advertise the budget and schedule a public hearing, and directing the tax assessor to prepare an assessment roll of the properties within the district based upon the budget. Any questions?
Nope.
Hearing none.
I have one question for Jillian.
Jillian, if you can just identify yourself for the record.
Jillian Sargent Allen.
Who are you, young lady?
I'm the interim executive director for Jackson Hill Special Improvement District. Pardon my hat.
Oh, that's Jillian. Oh, how you doing?
All right, Mike, what's your question?
So Jillian, in the budget, I saw that, there was you had a line item for reimbursement from UEZ.
Correct.
Have you guys received any reimbursement?
Not as yet. There has been a delay with the state dispersing the UEZ funds to EDC, Jersey City Economic Development Corporation. So we were expecting it last October to begin our reimbursement, but it's about 4 months late.
Okay. I guess, Peter, I can ask you, do you know anything about how that works with the state and EDC and?
Yeah, I think the best to have the EDC update you guys or update the council directly, just to give you all the information. But generally, these are funds that are released from the state to the EDC, and then the EDC then acts as a pass-through to give it to the, SIDs throughout the city. Historically, there's been a lot of, I want to say issues, but delays at the state level, changing allocations to the state level. So unfortunately, we put pressure on them as much as we can from, the municipality, but we're somewhat subject to the state and their, allocations.
And I will say that Director Prinzere has been extremely communicative, letting us know as she's getting information, she shares it with us. So we're not in the dark. We just expected it a little sooner. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Next, Sean.
Anyone else? Nothing.
Any other questions for the director? Thank you. Next, item 10.2, City Resolution 26-010 is a resolution of the City of Jersey City authorizing the cancellation of unexpected grant balance from Janssen allocation of the National Opioid Settlement. Item 10.3 was touched on earlier. Item 10.4, Resolution 26-012 is a resolution observing and celebrating the 3rd Annual Muslim Heritage Month in Jersey City.
Sean, I'm sponsoring that one. I was just asking if we could do it at the top of the meeting. I believe there's members of the community joining us tomorrow to celebrate.
If that's the case, Councilman, I would ask you to read the resolution into the record for me. And what we'll do is we'll make a motion to move it to the front. What we do is introduce the first reading ordinances. After we do that, that's when we will ask for a motion to defer to that resolution.
Sean, I have a question on 10.2 actually.
Okay.
We are canceling funds from the National Opioid Settlement that we have not yet spent yet. Is there a reason why we are not looking to find ways to spend them? Because I mean, surely there
$30
is a need.
$36.
Oh, it's $36. Okay, thank you.
We can just stay on resolution 10.4. Congratulations, Councilman Zupa. First to the key, first council person to get something on the agenda. Congrats.
Okay, item 10.5 was touched on earlier. Item 10.6, Resolution 26-014 is a resolution authorizing the submission of strategic plan or the Jersey City Municipal Alliance grant pursuant to the Governor's Council on Substance Use Disorder Grant year July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. Hearing no questions, items 10.7 through 10.11 were touched on earlier. Item 10.12, City Resolution 26-020 is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to apply and accept funds from the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Division of Criminal Justice on behalf of the Department of Public Safety, Police to purchase body armor 2025 Body Armor Replacement Fund.
Just a quick question, this councilperson at first, is this fund, I was just trying to look at the numbers real quick. This fund has money in it now, but it's insufficient for replacing body armor as necessary? Or is the fund totally depleted?
I don't believe it's totally depleted right now, but it needs to be supplemented in order to make the payment. I believe it's in total $68,000. Let me just double check. Yeah, I believe it's grant funding the amount of $68,000 in order to make this purchase.
Okay, and the grant is applied and authorized. We just need to do the final step of authorizing.
Correct. So the grant is built out, ready to be applied for. You have to authorize it, then we can accept it and move forward with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Items 10.13 through 10.20 were touched on earlier. Item 10.21, Resolution 26-029 is a resolution updating the award of a contract building automated system controls for city-owned buildings to Stark Tech Services LLC, the successor entity for the Jersey City Jersey State Controls Company. Sorry. It has been a long weekend shoveling. Item 10. Does anybody have questions on 10.21? 10.22, Resolution 26-030 is a resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Whipple Azarello LLC for providing various litigation services.
And Sean, I can take the next several just to
Okay, I appreciate that, Brett.
go through them. Council, I did send a confidential email to all the council members, but for Councilwoman Little, I sent it to your assistant because I don't have your email yet. I also apologize. These are all payments of claims. We are trying to clean up. These were contracts that were at some point not renewed throughout the year for litigation services. We are going through this now to make sure we get everything updated and that our new contracts moving forward are in place. We're also going through putting out our RFQs as well to try to make sure that all our contracts come due at the same time so that we're not going back and forth. But for 1022, this is a payment of a claim for legal services. This is litigation services. These are ongoing matters that we're going to continue to have to defend. These are lawsuits involving the alleged sexual assault of minors. So that is why we have them with outside counsel. I'm going to skip over 1023 right now because that's a different settlement. I'll come back to it. 1024, also a payment of a claim for legal services. That case has been resolved. So this will be a final payment to the law firm who handled it. I do hope that we hire them in the future. They have done a good job for the city. And these are all law firms that responded to our RFQs previously. 1025, this is a one-time payment in the amount of $2,852.50. We sought outside legal guidance on a bankruptcy matter that also had some tax implications that we needed that outside guidance on. 1026 is also a payment of a claim for services rendered in litigation. I did provide a few details about the case. It is ongoing. And a case that we're going to have to continue to defend in discovery. And then 1027 and 1031 go together. It's a payment of a claim for legal services to the law firm of Antonelli, Cantor, and Rivera. They are representing defendants in a lawsuit stemming from the termination of police officers that tested positive for cannabis. It's ongoing. And that's why we have 1031, which is putting on a contract so they can continue to represent a defendant in that case. And then to come back to 1023, this is a settlement we've put on. I apologize, usually we give more advance notice, but this one is basically payment of gas and electric service that the city received. There was some back and forth. This was some overlap back in 2021 and 2022 when we were changing providers. The city did receive these services, so we are on the hook to pay for them. We tried to work it out before litigation was instituted, but then it was. And as part of this settlement, we're able to pay the money owed in installments. So the first installment would be $270,000, and then the next two additional payments in May and August of 2026. If the council needs more information, just please let me know.
So Brittany, is it,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
is it safe to say that we don't have a litigation department? Because I mean, I just see that we're paying for a lot of litigation.
Our litigation department is down to 3 people right now. Used to be
Okay.
6. We also are paying for some of these attorneys are conflict counsel that we're going to have to hire no matter what, where we
Right.
can't represent all the defendants. But yes, we are very, very low on litigation attorneys right now, and we have over 110 active litigation cases.
110.
The settlement agreement, what was the total bill on this that we,
It was 670,000,
the bill itself is 670,000, we're just getting installments on it?
correct? And not paying any interest or any fees or things like that.
And the failure to pay here was, or the reason we didn't pay, is there an explanation or is there a?
So the explanation is that originally this was done through a cooperative. Unfortunately, the person that was handling it at the time is no longer with us. We've gone back and forth trying to figure out what exactly happened. But yeah, it was through the cooperative. They thought they had the authorization to continue the service, and then they were never told to cease services when we went with a different provider.
Is it, I guess, did we get bills? And then were they ignored, I guess is my question. And someone just decided not to pay them, is that?
The bills were going to Steve Miller, who had passed away, and no one was catching this. There was a lot of confusion around this one for unfortunate reasons. There was a cooperative that we were a part of. We had the full intent of signing on to the contract. It just seemed that somehow it never got communicated to the council. And then we found out that we'd been provided all these services. They provided them in good faith, but there was discussions on how much they were actually owed. We came to the settlement amount of $760 and called it a day. Or $670, sorry.
Then on 1027 or 26-035, this is about the, you said the officers on the, who sued on, because they were smoking marijuana or about?
So what happened at the time is there were officers that tested positive for marijuana. We had 4 officers test positive, 1 tested positive before cannabis became legalized, 3 tested after. So there's been a struggle as to whether or not that should have occurred. Their termination should have occurred. We actually no longer test for marijuana as part of the legalization and moving forward, and also Attorney General directives. The United States Supreme Court is actually taking up a similar case in terms of whether or not people who have firearms are allowed to participate in engaging in cannabis activity.
They were tested before they were employed, is that?
They were employed and they were tested as part of their general.
They weren't found to be on duty or anything like that, like,
Well, think it's a further discussion as when the test reveals when you're tested and when you test positive for it, how far back that goes in terms of the exactness of the test, which again, this is not going to occur again because we no longer test for it, but we can go through a little bit more of the details about it.
How much, can we get a summary of how much we spent on this and how much we?
I can get that for you. Because we do have a few different attorneys on it because we need to get conflict counsel. So we'll get you the totals.
And we're looking to settle with this, Brittany? Or no, is this still litigation?
No, we can talk about it more offline, but there are a few things that are stalled at the moment. And then we'll let the council know in a more substantive memo about what's going on.
So are they looking to get their jobs back? Oh, okay.
And
Sorry,
then
I'm
Brittany, maybe
Closed session?
maybe we can initiate a closed session soon, just so we can go through all of the current litigation and things.
Yeah, if the council wants to do that at some portion.
Right.
So
We'll take it offline.
This is, I did have a question. Is this still okay to ask, or we're moving offline?
depends on what you're gonna
Depends
ask.
on the.
So
certain
I
things
would,
We shouldn't discuss publicly in terms of litigation.
I would recommend specifically if councilmen have individual questions, you can always contact the law department. They can obviously respond to you individually, or if they want to have a group session, you guys can have a group session as a special session, which has more protections for that.
We'll schedule a closed session and then we can get more in detail on questions.
just to keep in mind, in order to go into closed session, we need to have a resolution to do so. So
Correct.
when we are ready to schedule a closed session, we'll have to have a specific date and time ready. So I'm going to assume that will be at the next meeting, we'll have a resolution on for a closed session.
Correct.
I just had a question about the settlement, if that's okay. 1023, is the law department representing the city on that case? Direct energy business?
Yes, we are.
And is the amount owed 670,000 the same amount that they billed us, or did they give us any kind of a discount?
It's reduced.
Okay.
We can get you the number that it was reduced from, if that's helpful.
Does Direct Energy Business LLC still provide service to the city?
Yes.
One last follow-up, just with all the litigation out there. Do you have like our top 10 hits that you can share with us?
Sure, that would definitely be offline, but absolutely, we have those prepared for the administration and we can share them with the council as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good. All right, so we went from 1022 all the way to 1027 and we hit on 1031. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so we already touched on 28 and 29 and 30. Now we're going to 10.32. I'll leave it to the business administrator.
Quick update for the council on this. For 1032 and 1033, we will be withdrawing these just to give the council more time to consider them. However, I did want to have a quick introduction with the individuals being considered. These are the department director positions, so they require council approval. So individually for each department, as the administration goes forward, you will be voting on that prior to the administration being a premise on them permanently. Tonight, we have Sarah Levine, who is our acting corporation counsel and auditioning for the role permanently. And I'll let her do a brief introduction. I went out of order. I apologize. I have Bill, who's been patiently waiting behind me. So I'll let him do a brief introduction. And then if you have any questions, you can answer them here or offline, whichever you prefer.
And council, I would ask that you set up some time to speak with each of them. I know some of you have already, and they've reached out to the entire council. So since the administration is withdrawing, you do have until the next council meeting to make sure you get all your questions answered and you review resumes, but they did want to come and introduce themselves tonight.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for your time and for your consideration. I think we've had to meet briefly in the past, and I've tried as best I could to reach out during the snowstorm. I know everyone was busy, but to make myself available to you. And I will make that offer again at any time it's convenient for all of you. Happy to meet in person or over the phone, whatever is more convenient. I'm more than happy to share my background with you as well, whether it's directly or through the business administrator or the clerk. So you please, whatever way I can best advise you, let me know. I am very excited to be working with the administration and with all of you on behalf of Jersey City, and I'm really looking forward to doing that.
Hey, Bill, if you can, I mean, you've reached out, I know you fairly well, but if you can, because the public is watching, if you can just give us like a brief background on like the work you have done thus far in your career.
Certainly. I started my career as an investment banker with Merrill Lynch, where I focused on a broad range of corporate finance, strategy, and mergers and acquisitions. After Merrill Lynch, I built the mergers and acquisitions group at Lucent Technologies, which is a spinoff from AT&T. And I was promoted to treasurer at Lucent Technologies as well. I've held the position of CFO at a private venture capital-backed telecommunications company in the past. All of that being on the private sector side, I transitioned to working in the public sector, took on the role of CFO and treasurer at New Jersey Transit. And then most recently, I served as a senior advisor to the Gateway Development Commission, the entity that's responsible for building the Hudson Tunnel.
Can you speak a little on your education?
Sure. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, which I earned from the Johns Hopkins University concurrently.
Bill, can you reach out to your connections at NJ Transit and tell them to come out here with some shovels and plows and help us out?
I have expressed my willingness to help with my former colleagues at New Jersey Transit as best I can. Well, I'll leave it at that. I have on a couple of occasions already reached out to them. I still have a lot of friends and colleagues there. I'm more than willing to try to help with New Jersey Transit.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start by saying congratulations to all of you. I am profoundly honored to have been appointed for your consideration by Mayor Solomon. I also want to express my gratitude to my predecessor, Brittany Murray, who has very graciously volunteered to stay on for a term to help with this transition, including leading all of the talking points tonight. So I'm very, very grateful for her assistance as I quickly try to get up to speed and slurp from the fire hose that is the law department. My name is Sarah Levine. I am very lucky to have crossed paths with every one of you previously. I look forward to setting up a time to speak with each of you over the next week or two, among other things, about your legislative priorities and how we can make sure that that is a priority for the law department. And I'd like to share in more detail for you both why I want this job and what I imagine the law department can be and how I think we can get from point A to B. So I hope that you will ask me detailed questions about all of those things. For those who don't know me, who may be watching, if you take a look at my resume, which is attached to this resolution, it will give you a bit of information about my professional background, but the top line is this. I have spent my entire career as an attorney in public service. I have never entered the private sector, and not for lack of job offers. I have only ever engaged in public client representation, so representing cities and states, because that is what I believe, that is where I believe the forefront of change is happening in our country currently. I have significant experience leading complex civil litigations, leading large teams of investigators and litigators across a variety of subject areas. I've primarily litigated as an employment and civil rights lawyer, but I have plenty of experience in antitrust, consumer protection, anti-fraud matters, and a bevy of others. I also have significant experience designing and implementing large-scale enforcement projects that I would be happy to talk about with you and that I hope can be a model for things that we do in the city moving forward. If you look at my resume, what you will not know, which is equally important to me, is I am born and raised in Jersey City Heights. I lived there until I graduated down the block from McNair Academic High School. After graduating, I tried for about a decade to get away from and stay away from Jersey City, and I abjectly failed. I lived in New York City, I lived in San Francisco, I lived in Washington, D.C., I lived in Connecticut. Along the way, I picked up a law degree, and in 2021, I finally accepted that nowhere would scratch the itch of my hometown. So I came back and I came here to stay. I plan to be here long term, which is all to say I am deeply, deeply invested in the project of governing in Jersey City. I believe any mayor and any council would need a very strong law department to be successful. I particularly believe this mayor and this council will need a very strong law department, particularly because of the ambitious and exciting proposals that I have heard during all of your campaigns. So I really look forward to the opportunity to talk to you about where I fit into that.
Sarah, can you speak to any legislation you worked on in the past?
I have significant experience with legislative drafting, both at the local and state level, but particularly locally in Jersey City. I am very proud to have been involved in enacting the right to counsel legislation. I am excited that if, with your blessing, I have the opportunity to stay in the law department, I will be, in no small part, responsible for helping to implement it. The implementation of that has been delayed, and many of you who are involved with the advocacy for that program have some understanding of why that is the case, but I really hope that this administration can invest in making that program a success. I have also been involved more recently in a series of housing reforms, including the mandatory minimum penalty ordinances with respect to our housing code. Additionally, the ban on rent fixing algorithms that was recently led by then Councilman Solomon. That is just a small example of the things that I've worked on locally.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Peter, I think more.
Yes, so we have one more item. I know it's not on the agenda, Council. This is a resolution that would pertain to the switch of healthcare providers for the city. Normally, when there's a late item, it requires a vote by council. I know we have some newer council members, so I just want to kind of go through the process. Generally, when there's a late item, it's because of some urgency by the administration where we need to have it on for immediate reasons. In this case, because with our healthcare, any month we delay this, it's going to cost more to the city, as I'm sure some of you are aware. So in this particular case, I would do a quick overview of the legislation being proposed. Once the council is aware of it, we will have a resolution drawn up. It'll be added to the agenda. It'll be codified as late. So if any residents see it and they have questions about it, they know that's going to be presented at tomorrow's meeting, and then we'll have a vote on it at tomorrow. In the interim, I want to call up Laura Bustamante, Chief of Staff to the Mayor Solomon's office, who's going to do a quick introduction, and then we have our consultants here to provide some more information.
Everybody, happy first caucus meeting. You guys are doing great. As Peter mentioned, I'm here on behalf of Mayor Solomon. We wanted to bring this council agenda item to you. The time sensitivity here is that we are going to see significant cuts to our cost. And so if we delay this one more, an additional 2, we would see additional cost of $2.5 million. So that is why we're bringing this here before you. We really think that this is a win-win for Jersey City, both for the city and for our employees, as it will reduce costs for both the city and our employees. But with that being said, I wanted to turn it over to Rob, who is our health insurance broker, to give you a brief overview of exactly what the plan looks like and what the numbers are going to look like. So Rob, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. Congratulations and best wishes to all of you. As introduced, my name is Robert Parisi. I was retained by the City of Jersey City in November of 2024 as an employee benefits consultant to represent the city and how they manage and administer the active and retiree employee health and prescription coverage. With that, as part of that process, working with Khadijah McNear and the benefits department, we did an RFP process in June of this year to get proposals for the medical and prescription. The City Council, after the review, has already renewed the prescription coverage for another 3 years. What we're talking about tonight is the medical portion of the employee benefits coverage. And after the review process of the RFP submissions and a thorough analysis of how they matched the benefits and what the potential savings could be, it was our recommendation that the city, in fact, move from Horizon Blue Cross for the medical TPA services to Meritain Health or Aetna TPA services for administering this plan. The review showed that better network utilization, as well as better negotiated discounts under the Aetna Meritain platform compared to Horizon, can provide both the city and all the employees who contribute to their healthcare, savings moving forward. So we all know that healthcare costs are difficult and sometimes difficult to manage, especially you'll learn as council members that it's a large portion of the city's budgeted year. But we believe that this is a way that we can provide the same benefits that the collective bargaining agreements promise all your employees and do it much less expensively. So we're asking the council to consider this resolution. As the acting business administrator, Peter, mentioned, it's a little bit short notice, but we do believe that each month that goes by is more cost to the city. And we also want to be respectful of our current agreements the city has with Horizon and give them a proper notification as well. So we're asking for the council's consideration. We believe after thorough review, this is a good move for both the city as a whole, but also all your employees.
I do have a few questions. First, I do want to thank the administration for reaching out. Just for a point of information, I typically don't oblige to vote on things. I don't really have that much time to imbibe, but you guys have done a good job with your presentation and reaching out in such short period of time. But I do have two quick questions. One for you, as it relates to the initial costs. It looks like we're saving money, but I know, like, when I sign up for car insurance, it's one rate, and then the next year it's a higher rate. So they dupe me to sign in, and then they get me on the back end. Is any of that taking place here?
No, so that's a great question, Councilman. So if this was a fully insured plan in which the city requested a quote and a carrier gave you a fixed rate of what the cost was going to be every month, then it is not uncommon that you maybe get sensitive to whether or not their proposal's too aggressive, and then the next year is going to be a 28% increase. The city has a self-insured plan, meaning the TPA fees, the fixed costs are very minor percentage of the total cost. Most of the cost is generated by utilization. So it's hard to predict what the costs are going to be other than underwriting based on the data we have. In this particular case, why we believe the Meritain platform is better is because what we found in looking at the city's utilization, the actual utilization the city's employees and their covered dependents are using over 18-month period, we found that the doctors, the providers that the city's employees are using, a lot more of them are in the Aetna network than in the Horizon network. Additionally, as part of the RFP process, we found that the in-network contracted discounts that Meritain is getting with providers in different geographic regions around the state are a little bit better than Aetna. So we don't believe this is, perhaps a so-called teaser rate where they're just being aggressive, because ultimately the cost the city is going to spend is going to be generated by the actual utilization. We believe the platform with a network that seems to be better suited for who your members are actually using, as well as the negotiated discount. And Aetna is not a new carrier. They're a national carrier with a strong presence and a growing presence in the public sector in New Jersey. We believe that platform is better equipped to accommodate utilization and what we all know is forever increasing healthcare costs in this country.
Okay, and Laura, for you, Laura, or maybe you can speak to this. The administration position is if we vote on this now versus postponing it, it will cost upwards of 2.5 million. How did we get that figure?
When we look at several years worth of actual costs for the city, so right now, just for perspective, the budgeted amount under the current Horizon model with medical and prescription for 2026 is about 200 million. When we look at the actual utilization, overlaid that with assuming all this utilization was under the Aetna network, not the Horizon network, and evaluate what we anticipate the contracted discounts are going to be with Meritain for the in-network costs, we anticipate reducing costs, considerably over a 12-month period. Now, that's a 12-month period. Generally, the contract is on a January 1 cycle, so we're starting in March. So to Laura's point, we think it's a 30 million over a policy year period, but because we're already into March, we're 2 months into it, every month that goes by. So we're not necessarily projecting a $30 million savings for this year, but over a policy period, it will be. So every month that goes by, 30 divided by 12 is,
is money we leaving on the table.
That money you're leaving on the table. Additionally, under the current contract with Horizon, the city has had to maintain a working capital fund in which Horizon, and it's not uncommon, Horizon, does this with all large private sector cases. They've kept a working capital fund in the event that the city could ever got to a point that they couldn't pay claims. That $9.9 million will be returned to the city upon the execution of this contract at once the claims are settled, and Aetna does not require that. So it's not like we have to refund it with Aetna. So when you factor what we see as a reduced in claims, a $9.9 million return of the working capital fund, we believe it's real savings to the city. And administration's point, we calculate that as roughly 2.5 million on a monthly basis.
Okay, and my final point, I would just say the administration, you have already obliged to do this, just to reach out to all of the employees, just to make sure they're privy, because ultimately those are the individuals that's going to be affected the most by the switch.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Councilman. I think it's worth reflecting that we have been in office for a total of 11 days. And so therefore, this was an immediate thing we needed to do. But the administration this is not common practice and will not be common practice for this administration. It just has to do with the time that we took in office and obviously what we've highlighted as the significant cost reduction here for the city. So what we've done, the mayor has done, is we have held meetings with all union representatives. We have also set up a town hall, an all citywide town hall for Wednesday morning for all city employees to be able to join. And then we also have set up 800 concierge line directly only for city employees to be able to ask questions about their specific lines. In addition, we've set up an email address that is also set up specifically for Jersey City employees who are not able to attend and have additional questions. And then we also have commitment from our members of the team, as well as Aetna representatives to be at every municipal building throughout the duration of this transition between now and March 1st to be able to help and have in-person sessions with members of our teams and people who are city employees. So we want to ensure that there's as much just overall help and also have made sure that we are proactively communicating with our employees. And it's also want to make sure people know that the mayor personally sent out an email to all city employees and making this announcement before it became public. So city employees heard first and foremost from the mayor of the city around what the change we intended to make.
Thank you. This is Councilwoman Little from Ward E. I had a question about your meetings that are taking place tomorrow morning, both with city workers and union leaders. Do you know currently if union leadership plans to speak at council before we vote on this, or if you would be willing to provide them with our email addresses or anything of that nature, because I would be very interested in hearing the concerns of the workers and the union representatives and their feelings on this overall before making a final decision on my vote. I mean, obviously, you've already provided a great deal of information, which I appreciate, but I just want to know if we would be able to have the results of those conversations, or as much as the workers and union representatives are willing to share before our vote.
We have not been made aware if they plan to speak at the council meeting, but we're happy to provide all of your emails, information proactively to union members, to union leaders who we've been communicating with.
Thank you. Further and ask for their contact information so we can reach out to them.
Yes. So do you want me to do both? Okay.
I prefer the contact and I'll just call them, but that's fine.
So,
Sorry to interrupt. If I would suggest, I could do an email to BCCing all the union members with your email saying, feel free to reach out. That way you'll both see each other.
thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Now, we are talking about unions, and I asked my colleague the question, but I just want to make sure, does there need to be a vote from the union body to accept this first before we are able to vote?
No. So for the what's in the union contracts is that we, as the administration, have the right to choose which provider we want to go with. Essentially, what we have to abide by law is equal or better healthcare, which is what this plan does.
Just to add one thing, we're working with several of the unions. A lot of the unions have individually requested a lot of additional information, and we're providing that to them. So we're going to be as forthright with the unions as possible, so they're comfortable ultimately that this represents their union members.
I want to say thank you to Laura and Mayor's office. We have been informed multiple times, and then presentation today, it was informative. All the questions were answered. So thank you for doing that.
Our pleasure.
Okay.
I have some more. What do I want to ask? Did you send us materials on this at this point? Written documentation or written materials?
We have not sent you written documentation.
Okay.
We have, however, communicated, as I mentioned, the mayor sent an all-city email alerting of this change yesterday before it became public to every city employees, including you all.
Can we get the slide presentation that you shared with us earlier as well? Okay.
Rob can send it over.
I have a couple of other questions. Just Rob, if you can just talk about when this your role in this process and when the city contracted with you, and then if you just speak to what your compensation is inside of this and how the resolution that we approved originally were on that.
Sure. I think I mentioned earlier, forgive me if I didn't. I was retained by the city in November of 24 as part of an RFQ process for a broker consultant to help the city administer their health and prescription coverage for their city employees. So I'm paid on a monthly basis, flat fee by the city as part of that RFQ process. The contract was renewed in December of this past year for a one-year basis, again, at the same monthly rate. So I do not represent insurance carriers. As a broker consultant, I represent the entity. So I represent the city of Jersey City. I'm paid by the city of Jersey City to provide them what we believe is objective opinions and objective evaluation for their medical and prescription coverage for their city employees.
You mentioned we're self-insured and that it's based on utilization. So when we get charged and billed for utilization on a monthly basis, how are we, who's billing us? Aetna? And they're sending it to us directly or sending it through you, or how's that work?
Right now, it's Horizon. So Horizon
Horizon, yeah.
Horizon sends a monthly fee for the administrative costs. And just keep in mind, when I say the fixed administrative cost to administer the plan, it's really minuscule. So I mentioned the medical portion is probably $160 million a year plan. The admin costs are only about $2 million. So they send a monthly bill for the admin costs. Then they send claim runs periodically, I think it's weekly, to fund the claims that city employees and their covered dependents are incurring. And then the city they fund the claims to Horizon. So most of the cost, as you can appreciate, is the actual claim. So the fixed cost for the admin and the use of the network is a really small portion. The overwhelming cost is the utilization, what the members and covered dependents are incurring. So everything you can do to create the best framework for managing the utilization costs is ultimately the way to control costs, because as Laura mentioned, we're contractually obligated to provide the same level of benefits. So for the members, just what that means, just so everyone's clear, co-payments are the same, deductibles are the same, nothing changes for the members. So when nothing's changing for the members, the only way you can really save money when you're contractually obligated to a certain benefit level is to provide the structure that at that particular time can provide us the best care at managing costs. And as I mentioned, healthcare costs aren't going down. National trend is just about 10%. Here in the Northeast, it tends to run higher. So I don't want anyone to think I'm saying that the claims are going to go down. Your healthcare costs are going to continue to go up. The hope is to manage that and mitigate that as best as possible while providing a high level of care for your employees and their family members. But
And
control the
so
costs.
we would get billed on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And that's from currently Horizon billing the city of Jersey City? We just
Yes.
pay, okay. And so this resolution authorizes, is there a specific dollar amount or is it's just the
No, so
administrative cost?
I didn't write the resolution, so I don't want to misspeak, but basically it's my understanding that the resolution is going to accept the RFP submission that Meritain Health / Aetna submitted in June.
Mhm. And that includes just the administrative cost and the weekly.
Because again, you can't even put on paper what the claim costs are going to be because you just really don't know. So it's the framework of the Meritain proposal and accepting, and for what it's worth, though, their admin fees are less than Horizon, small amount, but again, it's such a small dollar amount in the overall cost of the plan.
And can you just, for the record, just the utilization amount and that dollar amount for the city be estimated under Aetna versus what it currently is with
I don't.
Horizon Blue Cross?
So the budgeted 2026 Horizon budget had the medical portion, I think, at 168 million. We're projecting that cost to be, 25 to 30 million less expensive. Mainly because, just again, it's all network driven. The city's out of network cost, meaning the members going to participate, non-participating providers, is really disproportionate to what it should be. So when we looked at and evaluated it, we found that a lot of the doctors that the members are using are in network with Aetna, but they're out of network with Horizon. So immediately, first of all, your members are going to get better access to care that's not going to cost them out-of-pocket costs, but also it's going to help to mitigate what has over a 3-year period been significant increases in out-of-network spend on the city's behalf.
And how long is the contract going to be with Meritain?
The RFP was for 3-year contracts. Traditionally, I can't speak forever, but for a number of years, Horizon, the city of Jersey City has done 3-year contracts with TPA services for medical and prescription coverage. So the RFP that went out was for a 3-year contract. In this case, it would be a shortened. So the renewal is still going to say January 1, but if the council approves and this starts March 1st, it would be a shortened first year. So the first policy year would be 10 months. It will always stay on the January 1 cycle. So I guess in essence.
And we're renewing every year?
2 years and 10 months. It would have to be renewed every year. Yeah.
So if we decided not, hypothetically, we're not seeing the savings that we thought we wanted to see. In fact, whatever the case is, then we wanted to opt out at end of year 1 if things weren't working out.
Municipal government always has an out. So contracts are very rarely legally binding for municipal government. So it's a 3-year contract, but if it's not performing the way the city hopes, the city always reserves that right.
And what's the act that the council or the administration would have to do to execute an opt-out? The administration table.
I don't believe the contract's been fully executed or signed yet. Usually when the RFP comes back, the council authorizes us to enter in the contract. The law department still have to negotiate some of those items. So I can't give you a specific, delineation on that, but I can have the proposed contract provided.
If you could clarify that for me tomorrow. Great.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'm done.
So I asked this question earlier, but I just want to ask on record because several city employees reached out to me with concerns because of course they went online and they were looking at reviews and stuff. And one of the reviews that stuck out was that people were saying that they were paying more out of pocket with Meritain than they were originally told they would pay. So how can we just answer that question, ease their minds, and if there's any miscommunication with that?
So
or it's misrepresented.
A lot of the questions we're getting from union members following the meetings is, proof that the benefits are equal to or better than. As Laura mentioned, the collective bargaining agreements the city has with their units all require a certain level of benefits. And the commitment that's made as part of this process is that the benefits be equal to or better than. That's the term that's used around the state, equal to or better than. So every benefit that your employees have, if they have a $10 copayment with Horizon, it's going to be a $10 copayment with Aetna. And it's going to be a 70% out of network coverage, it's going to be 70% out of network coverage. So the coverage is going to match exactly. So if someone's experiencing increased out-of-pocket costs, I don't really know how to explain that other than to say that they didn't get benefits that matched. In this case, every level of benefit for all the city plans, and there's a bunch, are going to match exactly what they have now. And that's a lot of the questions, not all of them, but a lot of the questions we're getting from unions is, can you confirm that? So we're working to provide that documentation to make them comfortable that it'll match that equal to or better than provision.
Okay, and to the people that's watching, can you explain the 12-month grace period with Horizon
12-month grace period.
The 12 months that you said they would, if they made appointments and
Oh,
things like that, they would.
Yeah, so under the continuity care provision, if any members, employees or their dependents have scheduled care, that might be scheduled for early March, and maybe the doctor that they go to is one of the few doctors that's not in Aetna, but they are in Horizon. Aetna matches those benefits as if they are in network. So none of your members are going to all of a sudden get a surprise that a doctor I've been seeing that's been in network with Horizon, they're not in network with Aetna, and I'm going to be in a bad position now. So under the continuity care provision, they're going to cover any of those providers for 12 months and administer them as if they're in network. So there's no change in out-of-pocket cost for the employees. What we did find in the review, to that point, is that there were some doctors. There was over 2,100 doctors that were in Aetna, not in Horizon. There was about 190 that are not in Aetna, but in Horizon. So there was disparity there, but any one of those doctors that your members have care or see routinely, they'll be administered for as long as they're undergoing treatments, or at least for a year that they're seeking care, again, under the continuity care provision of the proposal.
Councilman Brooks.
Go ahead, Elena. Yeah.
Thanks. I had a question. The amount that is going to be required to be withheld from each employee's paycheck, whether it's a single employee, employee plus spouse, or family plan, is that going to change?
Yeah, so that was really what's, say, exciting, but certainly good for the employees in this case, because the way Chapter 78 New Jersey calculates employee per pay contributions is based on a percentage, depending on their salary, of the rate of the plan. So because the medical portion rate is so much less under the Meritain model than it is with Horizon for 2026, their per pay contribution costs go down. So what we saw when we look at the comparison is under the equivalency rates for 2026, of which Chapter 78 is calculated for Horizon, is much higher than it is for Meritain. So members will see, employees are going to see a pretty significant reduction in their per pay contributions with Meritain compared to Horizon. Now, what that equates to, because now you have to factor in prescription, and I told you prescription's already renewed, basically keeps their costs almost the same as they are in 25. So if the city were to decide we just want to stay with Horizon, let's not make changes, their costs are going to go up about 17% employees' contributions. If the city says, okay, let's do this, this is good for everybody, their costs are going to stay almost even. So they're almost will see no cost. It turns out to be a big savings compared to Horizon, but compared to 25, it's almost neutral.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brooks, ooh, that's loud. Ward B. Thank you for making yourself available, Rob, and Laura, for the explanation over the phone before. For process, Sean and Peter, with a late addition, at the conclusion of the caucus, the resolution would be added tonight for public viewing for tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we would add a resolution tonight, just so the public can view it. And then it'd be obviously online for everyone to view for here up until the council meeting tomorrow. And then officially we'd have to have a vote from the council to add it as a late item to the agenda. This is more just a courtesy to let the public see, what will be added in advance, and they can, have their eyes on everything that we'd be voting on.
Thank you. And then in terms of the relationship with the unions, I mean, our role as the council is to authorize the change proposed by the administration, and the union. This does not preclude the unions individually from agreeing or disagreeing if it is the same level of benefits. So that's up to them.
Correct, but we're committing to equal or better. So there's no negotiation there, because we as administration reserve the right to determine who the administrator is, and then we are committing in writing and with via this RFP that their benefits will be equal or better too. So as long as they're receiving equal or better too, that addresses that. But then in addition to that, we are committing to seeing those costs be reduced for them. So not only are they getting equal to or better healthcare, they're also seeing it for a lower cost.
Thank you.
And what's the ramifications to the company if they are not providing equal or better?
So it's not so much the company as much as it is the city. So again, because this is self-insured plan, which the city is ultimately the plan sponsor, we have an obligation to provide equal to or better than benefits. Meritain knows that. They do a lot of public sector work in New Jersey. They're working on matching the benefits now. They have all the Horizon summary plan documents and they're matching that. Because there's an obligation to provide equal to or better than, even if we find 6 months from now that there was this kind of an obscure benefit that doesn't, people don't utilize often, and we find out that Aetna set it up as a $10 copayment, but it was supposed to be a $5 copayment, we make the adjustment and make it $5. So the city has the obligation to provide the equal to or better than, and because it's a self-insured and the city's the plan sponsor, Meritain knows that the benefits have to be equal. So they're going to do everything they can to set up. The city has about 15 plans currently. They're going to set up all those 15 plans and make sure they're all identical based on the summary plan documents we have from Horizon. But again, even if it's just an inadvertent mistake on some obscure benefit and we only discover it for 6 months, it gets corrected. So the members are guaranteed under the collective bargaining agreements to have a certain level of benefits. The city has the obligation to adhere to that, and Meritain knows they have the obligation to adhere to that. So it might take a couple steps, not inadvertent or not, by making mistakes on purpose, but there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of pages to those benefits. We're going to do everything we can to match them. But even if we discover something 6 months from now, it gets adjusted and the members get the benefits they're promised.
I have, you have something? Go ahead.
Yeah, just this is a change only to the to the medical plan,
Medical.
not to the prescription and the stop loss insurance plans, correct?
Correct.
So I just want to ask you to walk us through the process of how we got here today. So there was an RFP, and can you start with a timeline of just when that RFP was first issued, who issued it, and then when you got responses back, and then ultimately came to this conclusion to accept it?
I don't remember the exact dates, but the RFP was issued in the spring, again, in conjunction with the Employee Benefits Office, mainly because the end of this year.
Or spring 2025?
Yes, spring of 25, because the end of 25 was the end of the 3-year contracts for Horizon as the TPA, as well as Crumdale Specialty as the TPA for prescription. So it was time, in essence, to issue RFPs in a timely manner to prepare for the 1/1 renewal for both. So that's when it was advertised. We got responses back.
The city advertised?
City advertised, and we got responses back. We started evaluating those responses. We only got 2. We got Horizon's response.
Interrupt you for a second. So our clerk is telling us that the live stream is going to go down in a minute.
I set the live stream for usually 4 hours for a caucus meeting, so we're approaching the end of our live stream. So if we can, council members, if you can sum up your questions, if everything has been answered, I would love to take a motion to adjourn before we lose our live stream.
You can still operate even though the live stream is down, is that correct?
We could.
I just don't want the council to feel rushed or anything. If they want to still discuss this, we can still discuss it. This won't be a live stream.
Is it all recorded anyway? Is that, no,
It doesn't get recorded after the live stream's ended.
that's fine. So I'm sorry, if you could just finish the process.
So we got responses back. Again, I forget the exact date of the summer. We put a summary together. We met with members of the administration, I think probably late August, maybe early September, showed some of this information, what we thought made sense for moving forward. And,
And that was presented to the past administration in September or thereabouts?
I think in September, somewhere there, yeah, late August, September.
And your recommendation at that time was to change providers?
Was to change to Meritain, yeah.
To Meritain. So we did not act on that recommendation at that time. The city did not act.
City did not act. I won't speak for the prior administration, but no, they did not act.
Got it. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Council.
Can I have a motion to adjourn at 8:01 PM?
1 second, Sean. So I just want to say that, this is this council's first caucus meeting. They're going to have a lot of questions. They're new. I did not want to rush them through their first caucus meeting. And I know that caucus meetings are usually a little shorter, but I need everybody to strap in because you have a whole new council. They ask good questions. They're learning. There's a lot of things that they are going to want to talk through. And for at least the first couple of months, I think it'll take them to kind of get in the groove. So some certain things that might seem simple to people who have been here for a while might take a little more time for the new council to pick up. And I think it was important for them to get all their questions answered during this first caucus meeting. And if we are doing things right, caucus should be longer and council meeting should be shorter. Because council, this is where you should be asking your questions. When we get here on Wednesdays, we should be showing up, listening to the public and voting. So this is the spot where you get all your questions answered. If there's anything that wasn't answered tonight, I'd ask that you please reach out to the directors via email and speak with them offline. And with that, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn at 8:02 PM made by Council President Ridley, seconded by Councilperson Griffin. On the motion to adjourn at 8:02 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 8:02 PM. Thank you very much, everyone present and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night. Stay safe.
I did. Summoning the spirit of Councilman Yin.